All right. Thank you for showing up, Mr. Drew, aka Tim Pool.
Hey, yeah. Hey, I'm doing my best Tim Pool impersonation. I'm just gonna try to talk really fast and wait, I have to show my teeth. He shows his
This Tim.
teeth a lot when he talks. I like Tim Pool. Like, don't get me wrong, I actually really like his videos, but the hat has got to go, Tim. If you're watching, I doubt that you are. Get a baseball cap and one of these, but make it say Timcast and make it be one color so it's not a distraction. Um,
Yeah, but without his beanie, he looks like Ron Howard's brother.
He does. Did you see that video I posted in the I posted a video of somebody stealing his hat in Mixed Middle Arts in the
There's
group.
actually a picture of him. I think he posted it to 4chan or something without his beanie on.
Well, I mean, he
And
could wear a baseball cap. I mean, and he could even have it say Timcast and he could sell them. I mean, there's lots of I mean, like I'm not saying don't wear a hat. I'm just saying like don't wear a beanie in the summertime. Like it's just weird.
yeah, and he lives in the Upper East. It gets pretty damn hot there during the summer.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna do a chat today. Oh crap! Just great.
Yeah.
Right when I
Perfect
say
timing.
that, right when I say that, my Bluetooth headset's like low battery. Please
This happened
try.
last time I came on.
Could you actually hear it say that?
I did, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. It let us all know that your headset was dying.
I didn't know that. I thought only I could hear that. All right, let
Well,
me.
normally you could, but it was just so loud. That's the reason why.
All right, well, I got another battery for it that I can just swap out really quickly here. That might present a problem because it's going to try to Bluetooth connect to every single device that I have, and I do not want that to happen.
Yeah, that would suck.
So let's try it here. 1 second. I'm just going to switch it out really quick.
So, anyways, guys, we're here today to talk about a documentary that's on Netflix and it's on YouTube too. It's not supposed to be, but it's called something about the alt right. I should know this. It's called Alt Right Age of Rage. It's the age of rage. I actually posted that in the chat I feel like a month ago.
Yeah, I had watched it before then. I was like surprised that you had watched it. I was like, oh, he's it too.
Yeah, well, I like to hang out. I live in the fringe, so I think it's important to be aware of what's going on in the fringe and it something we were talking about today just in the chat was like I thought it I mean I thought the meme war was a lot of fun. I mean, I definitely trolled for Trump back in like 2015 because I thought it was funny and I wasn't going to vote in the election. Um, and I just it was funny to me, and so I had like the deplorable tag and everything, and then out of nowhere people are talking like, "Oh, alt right is a bunch of Nazis," and I was like, "Oh man," to me alt right was like it kind of felt like libertarians and anarchists invading the Republican Party, which is to me what it originally was. And then this dude Richard Spencer hits the scene and kind of takes it over. And I think you kind of accurately because I had my conspiracy theories as you know I like to go to like immediately just because it's the way my brain works. And you're like, well, it could have just been him hijacking or kind of like what Milo did with Gamergate.
Well, Milo did that with the alt right too,
He did well.
because
He called it the alt light.
after the white supremacists, um,
Yeah,
after it came to light that the alt right was started by Richard Spencer and his ilk, he started to distance himself. But in the very beginning, when he did started to use alt right until people find out, it's like, oh, you're grouping yourself in with this Richard Spencer guy. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I made a mistake."
No, I had never heard of Richard Spencer before. Apparently, he used to be editor at Talkie Mag, which is kind of like a conservative magazine. Um, but yeah, I'd never heard of him, and I was like, all right, I'm definitely not associated with these fools. But even then, it was like there's still things in the alt right that like I've I like I told you like I've read, actually really enjoy reading Charles Lyons. He's an alt right guy, and he said at Coast or whatever the hell it's called. And he also writes at altright.com. And I think that, I mean, certain criticisms, like there's like I think a lot of his criticisms, I think, of like our current system are very valid, but then they go to it's going to devolve into race gangs and all this other nonsense that I don't believe, like I just don't agree with. But it is at its core identitarianism. And
Mm.
I think what I enjoyed about this film was that it seemed to have it seemed to kind of paint both sides. To me, it seemed to show that both sides are really identity driven.
Mm.
Obviously, I don't like white supremacists, or I don't think there's a lot of them, but I mean who they are, I think they're just, I mean, it's just kind of dumb. And I don't think that I don't know. I don't think that when you try to silence them, I think you're making the problem worse. So that was just kind of it. But anyways, I don't want to talk too much, Dustin. I'll let you run the show. I got to start talking because you had to change out your headset. So
Yeah, I understand that. I would say the best way to deal with it is to let them silence themselves. They will do it. Like, this is one of the references from the movie I was talking about. So in the movie, they show a bunch of Charlottesville stuff, the Tiki Torch March, and all of that. And then Spencer's like, "Oh, this was a great victory. I'm gonna come back to Charlottesville." 8 weeks later, he shows up with some more Tiki Torch dudes, and nobody gives a shit because nobody is there to amplify them. Because once you have an audience, you're amplifying whatever the demonstration is. If there's
yeah,
nobody there to see it, then it just kind of dies and nobody gives a shit about it.
yeah, and I think like I think like the whole thing. I mean, the whole Charlottesville thing was. I mean, I think everything to do with kind of like the alt right versus Antifa and the different factions that are considered alt right, when it's not even, it's kind of weird because I don't think the Proud Boys are necessarily they're
Well, the
definitely not.
Proud Boys didn't go.
No, they didn't go, but they get clumped in.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
you see them fighting Antifa quite a bit.
They get
Um
clumped in because they fight Antifa, not because they're white supremacists.
yeah.
Like they don't like Antifa. Um, they, I think one of the big reasons why was because of the Milo event. And I think there were some other events. Like I've heard Gavin talk about it a little bit. There were events when like regular conservatives, well, not regular, we're talking about like Ann Coulter, Ben Shapiro types, that the Proud Boys would show up as security details for these people.
Which
They
is,
didn't show up as security for white supremacists, but they did for these kind of far right pundits.
yeah, which a
And then
lot of,
Antifa would show up as if these far right pundits were Nazis and whatnot. So it's just because the Proud Boys were there and they oppose Antifa because they're literally running security for some of these speakers, they get lumped into being Nazis and white supremacists, even though that ideology has nothing to do with theirs.
yeah, it's yeah. I don't really have much to add to that. But I guess what I kind of wanted to do is kind of say like if you're okay with this, kind of go down like what the alt right actually thinks, or what they actually talk about. So I don't know if you're okay, or do we just want to get into the movie?
We could do both. I
Okay.
will say that the movie doesn't open up strangely. It's a black and white scene of some German Nazi dude
He was
addressing.
I think he was actually a British guy. So that's
Was
who
he British?
yeah, they talk about Chris Cantwell. The other link you posted, because I was wondering where that speech came from because they were English speaking and it looked like it was like an American area.
Because they show that it was in Madison Square Garden
Yeah.
and it
And
was packed.
yeah, I forget who who had who that was, but they you had a couple different links in the group chat for this event, and the second one where they were talking to Chris Cantwell with the Vice lady who was super annoying, um, who I don't want to say has a punchable face, but there's something about her face that no, I'm just teasing. The thing that like bothered me about her is just in general, Vice is just kind of an ad company now. Like Vice used to be like really kind of cutting edge journalism, I felt like in a lot of ways, and then it just switched um to not being that. But I was looking for the because Chris Cantwell,
Mainstream.
yeah, they tried to. Well, they got. I mean, Tim Pool. I'm doing my Tim Pool impersonation. Oh, so's Mindgasms. We're
Yep,
both doing Tim
always,
Pool impersonations right now.
always, always.
Um, but they said that it's something like for his nickname, and it's somebody that he looks up to. Um, or maybe no, it was Matt. It was this other guy who is actually saying like super racist stuff when they pan over to Richard. They're showing him, and he's like, "Yeah, Richard Spencer told me to blah blah blah." I forget his name. The guy with the red beard. Um,
Um, yeah, I don't remember the guy with the red beard.
I don't know, like a lot of man, it's hard because I don't care. I think a lot of these dudes are just trying to get attention. I have like they want to be famous and they want to be famous at any cost. And I think Chris Cantwell is definitely in that group. Like I think I met like I have friends that used to be friends with him and they said
Oh, really?
yeah, because he was big in the Liberty scene years ago, and then he switched over, and a lot of
Why did he
people.
become a white supremacist?
I don't know. I think like he had some. I think it all started when him and his wife were splitting up or something, and because he used to host Adam Against the Man, like when Adam Kokesh, like back in the day when it was like this big
So they were
podcast.
buddies or what?
They
Him and
were
Adam
buddies, and
Kokesh?
he was more reasonable. And then he just kind of just kept going deeper and deeper, and then
Well,
he
really, really think about it, because these guys are already at the extreme end of whatever ideology that they're following. Like, it doesn't surprise me that they would transition to some other extreme ideology.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of extreme, but I don't.
It's
Uh,
like it's like
uh,
Christians who become militant atheists or militant atheists who become diehard Christians.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like one extreme to another.
Yeah.
But it seems weird that Cantwell becomes like a super libertarian and then turns into like
I mean, he was
a
an anarchist.
racist.
You know what I mean? Like he was like a. I mean, I guess it's kind of liberty-minded anarchist to hey, it's not
Like a
freedom for
Randian.
everybody. We need to be the best for whites. And it's like, no, that's boring. Come on now. Like, why go
Uh,
backwards? Like, why not like go for freedom overall with like with unity in a sense? But I don't know. Oh, okay. No, I found a different one. Okay, no, this wasn't actually in okay, this guy Eli Mosley.
mhm.
Um, and this is actually from something else. It was like a New York Times documentary. And that's where that opening scene kind of comes from.
Oh.
So so this guy Eli Mosley, he's a part of it, and that guy who, what was his name? I'm on this video now. I have the sound turned off. But that video, the guy was actually a British guy who was a big fan of Hitler. And I think so Eli Mosley is something to do with that dude's name. But what they wanted is very different than what they wanted is very different than like what the alt-right actually talks about. Like I would say the alt-right is heavily based in identitarianism. And the guy that they really like is Guillaume Faye, who just passed away this year. So he passed away this month. And he's a French guy, the French New Right. And so a lot of that stuff is shaped by that. And a lot of other stuff that they talk about is also other books. Charles Lyons has written a lot about this. Like, I think if you really want to kind of read a lot of what the alt-right thinks and what they're talking about and what their goals are, I'd recommend reading Charles Lyons. He's not really one of the famous ones, but he's actually a super good writer. I enjoy reading his, like I said, I don't agree with him, but I like reading him. And he talks about how what they think is going to happen. I think a lot of these guys used to be libertarian, and basically what they think is going to happen is that our whole system is going to collapse. And when it does, we're gonna start grouping up into race gangs, and because that's who we're all going to be comfortable with is our racial gangs, which I just disagree with, and I think is pretty dumb personally.
But there are lots of white people who I don't like.
Well, they talk about, so what they talk about is this idea of anarcho-fascism. And anarcho-fascism is also known as anarcho-nationalism. And anarcho-fascism or national anarchism. So it's an anti-capitalist, anti-Marxist, anti-statist type of ideology. And so it's kind of weird when they get put in the same box as Nazism, because it's different things. And I think there's different sections of the alt-right that, like, because Richard Spencer, I've never really heard him say anything racist. He's very smart about that, but what he does say is that we want to be ethnic and racial separatists, and we're white nationalists, and we think white people should, because when you ask him, like, how do you, so, and it's basically, if you identify as a white person, they're okay with you. And it's even if you're black or anything, but it's these, it's that European culture. We're proud of this history and European culture and all that other shit. So I don't think it's fair to necessarily call them Nazis, because they're not Nazis. And I think it is very fair to call them fascists, though. And but it's a different kind of fascism.
Okay, so they're fascists.
They're fascists, and there's a book that they really like. They're like these novels, and I'm looking for what it's called. I can't. I'll look for it if you guys want to start talking about other stuff. I can't do things at once. So I got to find it.
Well, I could talk more about like the movie itself, I guess.
Hey, that makes sense. Yeah, we could do that.
So now in the movie, it starts off with that speech in black and white, packed crowd, Madison Square Garden. Some dude rushes the stage, fight breaks out. And then later, they do show some footage of Charlottesville after that. And there's this funny, it's not supposed to be funny, of course, but I found it hilarious. There's like some middle-aged bald dude with sunglasses on, and he does like a strange dance directed at some protesters.
Oh yeah, that was funny. He was like all mad and going like, "You guys dance like this."
Okay, so
yeah, so he did this strange dance directed at the protesters, basically demonstrating the stereotype that white people have an absence of rhythm. And then he yells like "fuck you" at the protester.
I find that very offensive.
What?
I don't
It's
feel
a
like
stereotype.
I don't think I'm in that, but I agree. For the most part, white people don't dance.
I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
white
I
people
do.
don't dance. They just pick up their pants and
that's
do the rock away.
Yeah.
Lean back. Lean
the
back.
author the author I wanted to say, so if you want more ideas into what the alt-right, the self-proclaimed alt-right, who they read, like this guy Jack Donovan, he has this book The Way of Men, and it describes his philosophy as anarcho-fascism. So they like and it's basically intertribal conflicts only weaken blah 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 blah. So anyways, keep going about the movie, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh, okay. So then we get a bunch of footage of James Fields mowing down the people that we've seen 100 times, horrible stuff. And then we get like the main Antifa guy comes in. They start interviewing Daryl Lamont Jenkins. Sometimes, at times, he just looks like a fat, bald lesbian, but
It's funny. It's funny that Richard Spencer's main criticism of him is that he's fat.
yeah. So my notes have Richard Spencer calls him Daryl the Barrel.
Yeah.
And I guess every time people bring him up, Richard Spencer just has like some fat joke ready for Jenkins. There's a time though in the movie where he says he actually has respect for him because he's not like some strung out junkie.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense because a lot of those Antifa people do look like strung out junkies.
Yeah, like your white people with dreads that look like they haven't eaten in 2 days.
Which is weird because I thought for sure that the identitarians within the Antifa would push those people away for culturally appropriating dreadlocks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So also we got so Daryl says that Richard Spencer is basically a rich white propagandist. He never really had to work a real job in the day of his life.
I'd agree with that assessment of Richard Spencer. What do you guys think?
And then they show footage of Richard Spencer.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like I don't like Richard Spencer. I think
it was like the famous
what's that, Dustin?
footage. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing from the last time we talked about. I felt, and I said this on Mindgasms. It hit me when I was talking about Richard Spencer, and I was going down my when Mindgasms was letting me get all spurging out with my conspiracy theories. But Andrew, I like how I just call you Mindgasms. By the way, sorry about that, Andrew.
No problem.
Like, what if you just called me Sample Hour? Hey, Sample Hour.
Sample Hour.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
You're saying something about Richard.
I was saying, yeah. So Richard Spencer reminds me of that rabbit in Watership Down, the weird one, who leads his rabbits to death. And I felt like that's what he did with Charlottesville. Was he led all those people to protest, and like I remember like reading the stories afterward about all those dudes that came out as white supremacists. Now a lot of them lost their jobs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like it was in the thing why those dudes are gravitated to that is because they don't, in my opinion, they don't really seem to have like a sense of purpose. Like they're kind of lacking like a sense of purpose or sense of belonging to a community.
Yeah, probably. They could have been like grabbed by any sort of group in that way.
I think that's mostly true because it turns out that a lot of these people, it's like church to them. Like, being part of a white supremacist group is like being a part of a church.
It is for Antifa too. It is for Antifa too. I remember at one part of the documentary where that guy Daryl, he was doing that chant with a whole bunch of Antifa members. I'm like, holy shit, he looks and sounds exactly like a preacher preaching to his congregation.
Yeah, it's all like church, man. It's like this is one I forgot what I just had this thing in my mind, and I don't remember what it was or what media I had consumed. But I remember reading or watching somewhere. Oh, where was it? I think it was it couldn't be. Was it the Hitler book I read? It might have been the Hitler book I read.
Mein
But
Kampf.
no, it was the
The
Rise
long
and Fall
history
of the
one,
Third.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Third Reich. But how? No. This is Howard Bloom. Do you remember when?
Oh,
Because have you heard him on podcasts before?
yeah,
All right, so you remember how he describes like when he goes up and speaks to people, there's like this crazy like energy that he gets.
yeah,
Like there's like this point in his life where he went up on stage somewhere to talk about something, and it was like the most like crazy feeling that he's ever felt. I think it's basically like the same thing for these people who have this public audience that are totally wholehearted and very enthusiastic about these people's ideas. Probably happens with Jordan Peterson too. Like there's all these
yeah.
people showing up for him.
I
So I
think
think there's this thing.
I think Jordan Peterson's controlled opposition too.
You think everybody's controlled opposition?
I do. I do.
Dude, you're controlled opposition.
I ask myself regularly, am I a useful idiot? And I could be. Oswald Mosley, Sir Oswald Mosley is who's in that video at the beginning in black and white.
Okay.
So they don't say that, which actually really bothers me, which is one of my issues with the film. And he
the film is poorly edited. Like it has no followable chronology. Like it's like at least I know we've talked about documentaries on here before. The last one was this movie has not yet been rated.
Film.
That movie had this film. That movie had a chronology to it. Like it had a series of events that were followable. This alt-right movie does not.
No, I think they
begin with Charlottesville and they end with Charlottesville.
Maybe they were just trying to make it exciting, like make it.
No, they just took that Netflix money and like Netflix is like, hey, let's paint a bad picture of the alt-right and
let's make Antifa look good.
They tried to, but you really can't. I mean, you really can't if you have any moral compass at all. Exactly. I posted in the chat Oswald Mosley. So I mean, it would have been nice if they would have like done like at least actually broke down. At least they had Gavin McInnes where he does this thing about the alt-right and alt-right.
That was
spectrum.
helpful.
Like I thought that was actually really fair of them. But to have this thing, it's like, okay, what, these are English-speaking Nazis, and it turns out no, that guy was the leader of the British Union of Fascists, and it was in the 1930s. Not saying, I mean, obviously, I'm not a fascist, but the guy he was in Parliament and everything else like that. So but it's like, we should know who that guy is. And then another alt-right guy really looks up to him, and that's the guy I was talking about earlier, Elliot Klein, who I don't believe was in the movie.
Okay.
So I just think like that was something that kind of bothered me, because it's don't introduce old things, and it's like, oh my God, we had English-speaking Nazis, and it's like, well, I'm sure they respected them, but I mean, like they had their own flag. But they were more Mussolini fans than Hitler fans.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you guys think about Jared Taylor in comparison to Richard Spencer? Because I don't like either of them, but I like the fact that Jared Taylor encouraged his followers to not be violent, and he's like less annoying and arrogant than Richard Spencer. And I like that guy in the Southern Poverty Law Center pointed out that violence doesn't solve these problems and it makes them worse too.
Now, is the guy from the Southern Poverty, is he the guy that lost his position just recently? Is that the guy that looked like a skinny George Lucas?
I think it's
yes, he looks like a skinny George Lucas.
Yeah.
So skinny George Lucas, he just got pushed out of the Southern Poverty Law Center, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's Google skinny George Lucas to see what to see if he pops up.
Daryl Davis. That's the guy also that Daryl Davis argued with in Accidental Courtesy about whether you should talk to white supremacists and Nazis or not, or whether they're just a lost cause.
Yeah, he was in that movie. I remember him.
Yeah, I think it's funny that dude lost his job. Well, got forced out because he's white. So he created like this.
Why?
Pretty much. Yeah, it was. They were saying how it's a terrible place to work.
Yeah,
and basically,
there were even like racist organizations of staff members or something like that.
So they were segregating staff-wise, racially.
Let me see if I can look it up. Yeah, I don't. What was that guy's name again?
Mark Potok.
Mark Potok.
Potok.
Yeah, skinny George Lucas didn't do anything on Google, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought he looked like he had a Weinstein fro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's Jewish, but he definitely had the fro going on.
Yeah, he's got a Jew fro.
Yeah, he was a former senior fellow. I mean, I don't like the Southern Poverty Law Center. I think they're part of the problem. I think that they're trying to divide, and they're heavily based in identitarianism, but just the other side of it.
And sometimes they label people as terrorists or alt-right who are not that. Like they labeled Tim Pool as alt-right, and they labeled Majid Nawaz as a terrorist or something like that.
Islamic extremist.
Yeah, something like that.
They labeled him as an anti-Islamic extremist.
He is an anti-Islamic extremist.
Yeah,
well, maybe not an extremist. Probably not an extremist.
Like we're talking about like anti-Islamic extremist would be a New Zealand guy.
What New Zealand guy?
The guy that just shut up the mouth.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Majid Nawaz is definitely critical of extreme versions of Islam, but he's still a Muslim.
Yeah.
So calling him an anti-Muslim extremist is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, he's like his whole project is being against that.
Yeah, I know in the movie.
Being against jihadis?
Yeah, like being against what he calls Islamists, which are like radical political Muslims who like range from people talking violently in favor of Islam and all the way to like actual terrorists, if I remember correctly.
Well, I know Islamists are those who are in favor of a caliphate.
Yeah.
Whether through violent or peaceful means, they're in favor of a caliphate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So talking about the movie, I know we passed the part where McInnes explains what the alt-right is. There's actually he actually had a 20-minute video on that I've watched before, which is really good.
Yeah, it was when he was still with the Rebel.
Yeah, so I think that's probably when they interviewed him too for the movie. It looked like, but anyway, so we got Mark Potok, the SPLC guy, and his.
Can we just call him Skinny George Lucas?
All right, Skinny George Lucas. He says that the alt-right is just a rebranding of white supremacy for public relations purposes,
which I disagree with. I think it's I think it's similar, but I wouldn't say that, because I don't think Jared Taylor considers himself alt-right. Jared Taylor is his own thing.
Is he? Because I kind of remember him saying that he was.
He might, because it's but he is.
He's not. He is not an internet troll. I know that.
Yeah, he says I mean, Wikipedia has him a white supremacist, but he'll tell you that he thinks Asian culture is far advanced to white culture. He was born in Japan, So I don't think, I think the term white supremacist is kind of mislabeled. I think he's a white separatist. I think that's,
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
definitely that.
Oh, I don't. No, no. I don't think that's white supremacist is not a misleading label because he believes white people are superior to black people.
but he doesn't believe that they're superior to everyone. So
Is
to
that-
me,
Still, but as long as you believe in the superiority, that is a supremacy.
that okay, that's fair.
Oh,
That's
that is
fair. Yeah,
supremacy.
because
Okay.
he does do the whole IQ thing.
Yeah.
He does like he is, I'd say, scientifically racist. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's like a. I guess he's a Charles Murray racist. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely believes in the book. You can tell just if he's talking about IQ and race, that's where he's getting his information from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soul wrote about stuff similarly, but he was actually talking about culture, and his arguments were it's a culture thing. It's not a race thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's because one, if it's a race thing, it's unavoidable, as you're saying that there's a biological reason that your IQ is not high. Soul, which has the better argument, is because Soul's argument is an environmental argument. If we're talking about culture, that's environment. That's not genetic.
Yeah.
There are some genetic aspects of culture, like if we're talking about lactose intolerance and holidays and cultural events that surround lactose products. Like we got the Wisconsin and their cheese, and I'm pretty sure they have lots of cultural events revolving around cheese. But I don't think that has anything to do with how smart they are.
Yeah. It's like how similarly my my mild lactose intolerance is probably due to my extremely strong European heritage and genes.
Yeah, so we got like, and then you got Jared Taylor, who's really into the
White.
scientific racism, and then I
Yeah,
know they
he says white. Full whip.
White.
Just like who else is it? I guess that's Stephen Molyneux also, and kind of
Stefan?
yeah, Stefan, whatever the hell you want to call him.
Yeah. Does he
He's
say
kind of
white that way?
No, I think he just says white normally.
Yeah.
White.
He's another
White.
dude that left like anarchism as like started talking about nationalism.
Yeah. Which is weird.
Was this all like? This is all within the last few years that these guys swung into this direction.
Well, it was leading up to the election where guys are telling you not to vote anymore, and then they're all saying vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
But now a lot of those dudes are saying vote for Andrew Yang.
Really?
Oh, yeah?
The same dudes?
Fuck yeah, the Yang gang, dude. Andrew Anglin endorsed Yang Gang 2 weeks before all the memes started going on.
Oh wow.
On 4chan.
Who's Andrew England?
Andrew Anglin is from Worthington, Ohio, which is just north of here, and he created it's really a satirical version of Stormfront called the Daily Stormer, which says a bunch of racist stuff.
Oh, I've heard.
I thought the Daily Stormer was Daily Stormer's a satirical site.
It dances in between. It's him and Weave. So Weave was one of the biggest internet trolls.
Well, didn't he get a tattoo of a swastika on himself?
I think that's a whole. I mean, remember it's Weave. I mean, that was like he wrote this thing about how he joined the white supremacists in prison so he would be for protection. Because he basically what happened was both those dudes were kind of a part of Anonymous, and they weren't what they call moral fags in 4chan. So they weren't that. They were in it for the lulz. And then a month before Weave gets out of jail, the Daily Stormer's created. I mean, Daily Stormer, Stormfront, they were pretty similar. Like And I've heard interviews with Andrew Anglin, and they're like, "So do you think? So are you a Nazi and all this stuff?" He goes, "Yeah, totally. If they're gonna accuse me of it, I'm just gonna own it." So, and then he wrote that Heather Heyer article, and it was like the whole article was clearly like it was like a dark humor thing where he says like how Heather Heyer was a mud shark and all this other shit, and she was just fat and out of shape, and this guy was awesome because he drove a Dodge. Like it was just like really, it was really stupid. Like it was really insensitive, which is what got them banned. But Daily Stormer loses their GoDaddy stuff, and then he what he did was he moved the domain to the hosting services to this service that a lot of the Antifa sites were on. So when they would get DDoS attack, it would actually take down their sites too. And so I'm not saying that I'm not going to say that he's not a racist or he doesn't believe that stuff, but I don't think that their motivations are. I don't necessarily think they're all bought into that. I think it's mainly I think they're accelerationists and they want the whole fucking system to burn down. So that's why he's going after Andrew Yang. Like that's why a lot of people that were supporting Donald Trump are now supporting Yang. 'Cause it's like, well, look, I mean, everything's going to shit. Give me $1,000 a month.
Yang seems better than Trump.
Well, I don't know. I think Yang is. I mean, Yang says a lot of the right things, but it's like he doesn't really say anything all at the same time. He's like an Asian Obama. Like he says nothing. Obama. He says nothing but a lot of things all at the same time. And like I'll listen to Yang, and I'm like, oh, he's like
Trump.
Well, no, Trump. No. Trump does the same thing, but Trump's persuasion is totally different. Like Trump's persuasion is, I'm going to say the most simple things. I'm going after 60% of people, and I'm going to run that campaign, and that's what he went after. But Yang is going through the left, so he has to try to appease a lot more people. And so it's like, oh yeah, we have to do something about. I mean, he's doing a lot of fear tactics, in my opinion, about artificial intelligence. Like he's, we have 12 years until we can't fix anything with climate change. And it's like a lot of fear
too. Oh yeah. You told me about that when you were on my podcast.
Yeah, no, like I listen, guys, I live in the fringe. Like, I mean, like I go down. I think Yang's entertaining. I would love to see, I mean, personally, I think the best candidate was Tulsi Gabbard. And I think in 2016 it was Jim Webb, but both those people got taken down. I mean, David Duke is coming out and endorsing Tulsi Gabbard, which is
really
weird.
That is weird. Wow.
Yeah,
well,
so
I said it was because of her views against Israel.
Well, she said she was critical of Israel. I don't think that she was against it. Like, and that's a thing, and that's also like, if you're critical of Israel, you're considered an anti-Semite. And AIPAC, though, did you guys see any of the clips from the AIPAC conference? Everybody's talking like why you need to be pro-Israel to be American and all this other shit. AIPAC's got a lot of power and a lot of money.
Oh wow!
Well, I mean,
I'm pro-Israel to be American.
Yeah, I mean, there's if you go to Mox News, it's a YouTube channel. They have a bunch of clips of a bunch of different politicians pandering to AIPAC. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I haven't heard anybody really talk about it. Even I was surprised Tim Pool wasn't even on it. But I mean, it's so being critical of AIPAC got Hotep Jesus banned from TPUSA. So I mean, so I think that I don't know. I mean, I think that stuff's interesting. So
well, I'm not a fan of TPUSA.
No, I'm not either. I mean, it's not. I mean, Hotep Jesus said it best. If Candace Owens was saying black first, she wouldn't have that job anymore.
Is she what? Is she what?
If she was saying black first, black people first, she wouldn't have that job anymore. But she's the.
She would never say that.
No. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, so there's Chuck Schumer talking at AIPAC, Mike Pence, I mean, the mayor, Mike Pompeo, the mayor of New York City, some lady. But there's a lot of different people here with the APEC thing. There's so if you go to Mox News, Mitch McConnell, like all these people are Nancy Pelosi. So I mean, everybody's talking about it. And like everybody goes to the APEC events and talks, but it doesn't get a lot of coverage. But it
I
was
have a
on like,
question
yeah,
because you said you live in the fringes.
yeah.
Were you familiar with this TV KWA guy?
No, I
The right,
wasn't.
the right wing meme quote artist unquote who
No.
wore a ski mask the whole time.
I had never heard of that guy. Yeah, I have no idea who that guy is. I have no
The
idea who
most
that guy is.
ridiculous thing is that I saw, and you know they ask these people to do stupid shit. Like it shows him like in a back alley or something on his laptop, like with a ski mask on.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought,
that part was weird.
but he's also with Daily Stormer, it looks like.
Oh, is he a Daily Stormer
Yeah,
guy?
so those guys, they're all trolls, man. I don't think I mean, I think their goal is to be as offensive as possible and basically just I mean, basically they just want to stir shit up. I think that's what and they get paid to do it. And now like and Andrew Anglin's talked about how they get many financial campaign they get a lot of donations from high people in corporate America and stuff like that. So but
The Daily Stormer does?
yeah, that's what he says.
Huh. And then
Wow.
Joe Rogan made an appearance in the movie.
Yeah. Said not all Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Trump supporters.
Yeah, that's what Alonzo
Yeah,
Bolton said. I don't think that's true either. A lot of racists don't like Trump now because he supports Israel.
Yeah.
I'm being real. I mean that's
anti-Semitic racists
yeah.
who believe in the Jew conspiracy to control the world.
Yeah. That's such a
This
funny
doesn't make
conspiracy.
sense. It just does not make sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if there was a Jew conspiracy to control the world, then they wouldn't give a fuck about Israel.
Yeah.
It's like all the Jews would be in America, basically. Like,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't
eh,
I think
do you
Michael
believe in
Malice
the
is talking about
grand
it.
Jew conspiracy?
No, Michael Malice because you know he's Jewish and I heard him on Gavin like talking about it what he thought that was ridiculous. Like he's like, no, it's ridiculous, and I think for the same reasons you just said, Dustin.
So TV Qua, don't know who that is.
Yeah, TV Qua, he's part of the Daily Stormer, so that's what it looks like. And
okay.
so I would say if he's part of the Daily Stormer and he wears a ski mask, it's TV Qua Real News, but I don't think he's doing much anymore. This is like I haven't seen it. There wasn't
he's not active. A lot of those guys have gone downhill since Charlottesville.
Yeah, and the videos are taken down. Yeah, his videos aren't even up anymore. So
yeah, I know there's Skinny George Lucas in the film. He states that there's no moral equivalency between the radical left and radical right.
Yeah, I don't know about
that. He acknowledges that there was a lot of left-wing terrorism in the 60s and 70s, but it isn't true anymore. I know that is kind of true, that there was a lot of left-wing terrorism in the 60s and 70s, but who knows, it could make a comeback if things get worse.
Aren't Antifa classified as a terrorist group by the FBI?
Homeland Security in New Jersey or Boston, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah. You told me that before. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Antifa is that it's not a unified group. They all have their own little sects and ideologies. Some of them way more extreme than others. And I think you kind of got an insight of how extreme they are when Crowder like infiltrated one of their little groups.
Yeah.
And so it's a varying degree of extremity. Just the whole group isn't extreme though, but
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say that.
some of them are, some of them aren't. I would
Well,
say that the majority aren't, but there's a lot of crazy. Like if you're gonna wear a black mask, then it's likely you're hiding because you will conduct some type of criminal activity.
yeah. I mean, they're probably also like white supremacists and Nazis who don't go to rallies or anything and just troll people all day.
Yeah, true enough.
So there's
but the punch in the face. You got to
Yeah.
see that.
So there's a
Yeah. He punched him in the ear, though, right? Really?
Yeah, he boxed his ears, as
Yeah.
Nynaeve would say.
That's one thing I noticed about the violence in the documentary is that none of these people, all of these people are terrible at fighting. They're all like, ugh.
yeah.
Yeah, the Charlottesville fights were pretty funny. Like,
Yeah.
it's people with shields and sticks, and they're like whacking each other with them. It looks like they're LARPing. It's like a bad LARP session.
Hey, so okay,
Yeah.
so this is an article from the 27th of Andrew Yang. So, and it's in the Washington Examiner. Sorry, I found this.
Washington Examiner.
Yeah, Yang. He was self-conscious in his book he published last year that he was self-conscious about his youth, about whether or not he had a small penis. Hey Yang, what's it like having such a small dick? Everyone knows Chinese guys have small dicks. Were among the painful taunts from his middle school classmates, he recalled. I became quite self-conscious. I started wondering if I indeed have a small dick. I don't know why he wrote that in his book.
Well, it's a fun. I find it funny and humanizing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like he's running a very interesting campaign. It's very grassroots. Him and Peter Buttigieg, whatever his name is. Yeah, he's the gay mayor from South Bend.
Oh, I don't know.
Him and Yang are trending the most on the internet.
Huh.
Okay.
So anyway, sorry. We
So
should
back to the movie.
Sorry about that.
So Richard Spencer gets punched in the face, and the SPLC, Skinny George Lucas, he says that they shouldn't have punched him in the face because it hurts their cause.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Me too.
I think that anyone says you should punch a Nazi in the face, well, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
Really. Like,
someone compared me to a Nazi once for making that point. That if you encourage people to punch Nazis, it will make the problem of Nazis worse. And they said, you sound like a Nazi for saying that. Like,
yeah, that's what a Nazi would say.
A Nazi would not say that. Okay, the problem of
Are you in a stairwell right now, Dustin?
I am.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I turned on my Hall reverb module. I was just testing it out.
It worked really well.
No, that doesn't make sense, Andrew, because if you say that it makes the problem with Nazis worse, a Nazi would not say the problem with Nazis.
Yeah, that's true.
So just that person who said that is just bad at logic.
Well, that's a pretty common position, apparently.
Well, yeah, bad at logic. That's all I'm gonna say about that. There's an interesting thing too, because right after the SPLC Skinny George Lucas says that it'll make the problem worse. They cut in with McGinnis, and he's like, "Violence is an effective way to solve problems."
Yeah,
that's a pretty dumb thing for him to say.
Yeah, it really is.
It is dumb, but I read Starship Troopers recently, and this is also one of the ideas in that book.
Well, that's also a
Yeah.
heavily fascist book. I mean, like the government that they're in is a fascist government. That's
Yeah.
what was crazy was
That's what Wisecrack says anyway.
that what was really crazy is I didn't I remember that movie as a kid and remembered it was like they're like, what's the difference between a citizen and this? And I was like, huh. What I mean, it didn't really register with me, and then it just goes back to killing the insects. Um and yeah, so then I looked up the book and I was like, okay, this is a totally different the book is actually kind of like a really interesting
Yeah.
political commentary.
And the guy
Yeah.
who directed the movie didn't even read the entire book.
Huh.
Well, the guy that directed the movie didn't like the ideology in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quit, and
Yeah.
he just ended up making a satire instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a military science fiction by Robert Heinlein.
Yeah, I like that author a lot. He
But
wrote
yeah, that's what when Gavin McInnes said that, it totally reminded me of one of the arguments from the book that
Oh, okay.
violence actually does solve problems, and it's fucking actually true. It's just you never really want to go there. You want
Yeah.
to try to solve it
Without violence.
Without
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah.
But
That's-
violence definitely solves problems unless you're the U.S. in Afghanistan, which doesn't do shit apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting quote from McInnes. And then after that, we just see basically some footage of like Patriot Freyer types fighting Antifa. See, this is my biggest problem with Antifa is why the hell are they fighting just like regular Trump supporters?
Yeah,
It
good
just
question.
doesn't make fucking sense to me.
Oh, because
Well, because they're
they
wussies,
think,
dude.
they think they think Trump is a Nazi. That's why. So if you support Trump, you support Nazis.
He's not.
Well, this is like the befuddlement of their message and why people don't take Antifa seriously. It's like if they're gonna call everybody a Nazi, it's like that word just kind of loses its meaning.
Yeah.
So
Not
after that, Richard Spencer talks about his ethno state, and in the movie he classifies it as a post-American
That's
thing.
so that's what I'm saying. It goes back to like what Charles Lyons is talking about, the Jack Donovan books, The Way of Men, Becoming a Barbarian. And it's all about masculinity. And it's like, what's funny to me is a lot of these dudes that talk about that, I don't really consider to be very masculine. Like, I'm being serious. Like, I've heard Charles Lyons talk. Like, there's a podcast I sent to.
So you're saying they're all beta cocks?
You know, I don't want to use that term, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys aren't real. Like, if we were in a bar and shit was about to go down, I wouldn't feel real good about them being in my corner. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And like they like you can hear. I mean, the way that they're all kind of posh. They all I feel like they're dudes that have gravitated to identitarianism for I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm sure they're not rock stars when it comes to talking to women and stuff like that. So
that's the point. And they seem to see themselves as intellectuals too. So I bet part of their identitarianism is seeing themselves with prestige or something like that.
well, for sure.
Yeah.
And I see myself as just white trash that managed to polish himself off enough. Like I don't I mean that was the thing that like I think is like the stupidest thing about why they think that we're gonna devolve into these race gangs and this post-America thing because we're not sustainable. We can't actually last with the way. And I agree with a lot of those criticisms.
Yeah.
But then it's when they actually get into it, and it's like, look, I get along with Dustin quite a bit because I think we had similar backgrounds. We're both bigger dudes. who were probably picked on and didn't necessarily want to make our size be an issue. But Dustin grew up in California, and I grew up in Southeast Toledo area. So demographically, you would think they'd be a lot different, but we both grew up poor. We both kind of figured things out on our own. And you know what I mean? And I'm a white dude and he's a black dude. So to me, it's like, man, I like talking to Dustin. I feel like we have a similar worldview, and it has nothing to do with race and has a lot more to do with probably background and culture.
Yeah.
So, and then we both got in the conspiracy thing, but it looks like Drew's
I'm a lot deeper. Yeah, I think
he's much more deeper. Like I graduated and got into like the skeptical. Like I'm skeptical, of course.
Me too. But when I add stuff and I'll say I think that's controlled opposition, that's mainly
the conspiracy thing. That's like the angle they use a lot, though.
Yeah, but I think it's also it's mainly too. I'm kind of joking, but it's also like something quite isn't right there.
It's a government psyop.
Well, I don't know. I think there are useful idiots. I think for sure.
Well, of course, Trump's one. Like it's not.
I think so. I mean, I thought I was saying during his press conferences that they're like, well, nobody controls him. And it's like, if you look at who was putting on his conferences, his little town halls, they were like, one dude, I remember he was in like South Dakota, and the guy he was worth like $8 billion because of oil. And once the price of oil dropped, he went down to being worth about $2 billion, which is a lot. But look, man, I can't imagine losing like
$62 billion.
I mean, I can't imagine losing $5,000, or $6,000, so $6 billion. That's a lot. And then it's also like Trump's this real estate guy, and he's really obsessed with oil right now. He was saying something about how we should have taken Iraq's oil. We should have. I mean, this whole Venezuelan thing. He was saying that
to take everyone's oil.
Yeah, and it's So, it's funny the Russia collusion shit comes out that it didn't really exist, which was no surprise to me. I mean, talk about conspiracy theory. And then, but now like Russians, because Russian and Chinese have a lot of money invested into Venezuela. So they both have sent troops there because the United States is trying to do their coup shit with this Guaido character. And I'm just saying, like, when you talk about a useful idiot, it's like, well, who is Donald Trump's master? And I would say it's U.S. energy. So U.S. corporations that have oil companies or any energy company, because it's always about geopolitics and energy.
That's an interesting theory.
I think so. When it comes down to it, who has the best access to resources?
Well, Venezuela has the largest oil supply on the planet. So, anyways, back to the movie.
Why are they so fucked up, though? They can't even do basic shit over there.
Dude, I'm sure has nothing to do with the CIA, for sure, because the CIA, they're good Americans, and they only do what's best for the world, and they do that America first.
All right, so back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
I'm turning on my reverb module here.
Okay.
Testing it out. All right, so they do a little background on Richard Spencer, and they say he comes from a think tank called the National Policy Institute.
Apparently was not, well, like he kind of corrupted it with his white supremacist ideas to an extent or something like that.
Is that what happened? Because I don't know much about the NPA.
I don't know.
Those ideas just spread like a virus because everybody just wants to hate the other. So I get it.
It seemed like they characterized the situation that way in the documentary, to me anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, I know also he says that he's okay with the gays.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think they have any issues with gays. I don't actually think he has any issues with black people. He just doesn't want to live around them.
Okay. Then he has issues with them.
Yeah, I was joking. I think go to most suburbs and I think those people have secret issues, but they champion telling they champion ideas of people that keep you down, Dustin.
People that keep me down.
Yeah, because you're black and you're a child in their eyes. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's racist too, and I think it actually comes from the same place as ethno state. Like, aren't suburbs kind of like, wasn't that the first attempt? White flight.
Suburbs?
Am I wrong?
You mean like the Levitt towns and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of those early like suburbs were exclusive. I know I forgot. Are they called Levitt towns? Yeah, Levitt town was one of the first
Sunrise
big,
towns too. Wasn't that the
Yeah, they were like these first big, like
Sundown? Yeah.
huge suburb projects that were created, and they tried to limit minorities and Jews from entering these suburbs. So there is a kind of like a little bit of a history of keeping certain people out of suburbs.
What are those called? Those
Levitt
towns?
Town is one of them. I know
Okay.
that's one of them.
Well, the sundown towns are basically at sundown, black people weren't allowed to be outside.
Oh.
So, continuing on.
Continuing on.
The skinny George Lucas believes that white nationalism is on the rise. Do you agree with that?
I think identitarianism is on the rise, so yes.
Yeah.
It's more mainstream.
I'd say
I don't remember it being so blatant.
I'd say identitarianism in general is on the rise, and I think the internet is a large reason behind that.
Yeah, and I think that white supremacy is just one small piece of that pie.
Yeah, I agree, because I remember these were not issues people were talking about in a mainstream discourse like a decade ago. Like, none of these people had a voice. Like, none of the people had a voice in the fringes until the internet became one of the most pervasive areas of where you can seek out your information. Like, it's starting a little bit, maybe around 10 years ago, but it started to pick up probably in the last 5 or 6 years, I think.
And Richard Spencer is a scientific racist. I found the Conservapedia, and Spencer believes that black people are less smart than white people based on comparative IQ studies. He is married to Nina.
Married?
Yeah, to Nina Kaporinova.
He's married to a Russian? Is that why people think he's the opposition?
Oh, wait a minute.
Opposition?
Oh, never mind. They broke up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she launched a whole GoFundMe page to get full custody of their kids, and said that Richard Spencer was abusive.
Because he's a beta.
Yeah, he's that beta guy, man. And he does have a attractive Eastern European looking wife. I don't see Richard Spencer being able to hold that down.
No wonder he loves that attention. No wonder he loves that attention so much. He's such a cuck.
So I think at least the discourse of it is on the rise, and I don't know what like the actual people who are white supremacists is increasing. I really don't know, but at least people are talking about it a lot.
I think the fear tactics are stronger. I think it's bigger talking points to for the media to make money.
Yeah, it probably is. It still is, I would say, like a really vocal fringe minority of people that are getting a lot of attention from the mainstream media because they're getting a lot of attention on social media.
One of the other things that Skinny George Lucas said is he considers Jared Taylor to be the most influential in mainstreaming white nationalism.
I don't think so. I don't think
You don't
any.
think so?
I mean, I didn't know who Jared Taylor was until last year, and I think that again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying. I think it goes back to what we were saying, that I think the media is the biggest. Okay, the internet allowed people that are kind of like lost children amongst our society that don't feel like they have any purpose or anything like that. It enabled them to find kind of, you know, the incel type people, to find like some like brethren and connection with other human beings. So it allowed that, but the media is what's giving it power, and I think that's what's actually driving people to look for this on the internet, because the internet's saying, "Oh, this is dangerous. This is all these things that we're told as young men. That's what you need to be to have women like you." And then also, I don't think I said this live yet, that like I think these dudes just want to be famous, man. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Like I'd never heard of Richard Spencer before, and then not until he got punched in the face. And when he got punched in the face, that's when it started. That then he starts getting banned from giving speeches, which makes him dangerous. And then when you actually listen to what he has to say, it's not really intellectually stimulating. It's not really anything.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah, he's really boring. And again, he's another guy that's used to be considered libertarian. Yeah, his wife grew up in Moscow. Met Richard Spencer when he was an editor at Talkie magazine.
So maybe him becoming radicalized is one of the reasons that they're not together anymore.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, also too, he's probably more focused on being famous and touring the country to give talks versus being a father and raising his children.
Yeah.
All right. So in the movie, also, Daryl gets prostate cancer.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that's what encouraged him to start getting much more involved with Antifa and stuff like that.
Yeah, another reason he got more involved is one of the things he says is that he regrets that his father didn't understand what he did.
Yeah.
And then he tells a story about his father getting mustard poured on him. And
they were going to pour mustard on him, and he threw the guy through the. Oh no, he did get mustard poured on him. Yeah, and he threw him through the plate glass window.
Through a plate glass window. I'm like, that sounds like a reasonable reaction to that.
Well, it sounds like Antifa to me, but
yeah.
But anyway,
sounds like his dad had anger issues.
Well, I would be pissed off. Like if some crazy white supremacist assholes decided to pour mustard on me.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not justified to be pissed off.
I'd be pissed off.
I don't know if I throw him through a plate glass window, but I definitely punch the dude in the face.
Yeah, I was gonna say hands are gonna be thrown if somebody dumps mustard on me in public, and it's like out of nowhere. I'm definitely gonna grab them and then try to control myself. But yeah, it wouldn't matter what their political thing is. If it's just a drunk person that threw mustard on me, it's gonna be a bad time for them.
All right, so they do get into the whole race and IQ thing. They start talking about how it has roots in phrenology and eugenics.
Yeah,
and they do talk about how the eugenics movement was born in the U.S. So
and that's all scientism.
Yeah, scientific racism, that type of deal. So basically, they're just aligning the taking a piss in the middle of a podcast. How wonderful.
Nice.
Oh,
Thanks, Andrew.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so they're linking the scientific racism with the whole race realism, the IQ and race debate. So they're linking them to the bunk science of phrenology and eugenics.
Yeah. Especially phrenology is like, I mean, both phrenology and eugenics are fucking ridiculous, but phrenology, like, look, their skulls are different, therefore they're inferior. That's like,
Yeah, and I just put like not too long ago on my regular Facebook, I posted some black dude with a gigantic fucking head, and
I saw
he got
that. He got in a
arrested.
baseball bat fight.
He got arrested. Like, dude, that guy should be a genius with a head that large. But you know exactly, phrenology is bullshit. So,
yeah,
after that, um, so there's a weird video cut that they do, and when they're cutting back to Jared Taylor, and he's doing like some weird cover of "We're Gonna Start the Fire," but he changes like the lyrics and he's playing like saxophone.
yeah,
That's
that's
like,
hilarious.
like, is this guy? I think he's being serious because he doesn't seem to be a guy that knows humor. So I would find it difficult that he was not trying to be serious in those videos. He just seems like he was just like, oh man, I'm gonna make this. It's gonna be so cool. People are
Yeah,
gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a bunch of dorks, dude.
yeah,
Like that's the whole point. I mean, like they're dorks that like probably were never cool, never fit in. I mean, I wasn't really cool and I didn't fit in, but then I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my own thing and try to be positive. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that that's what that's not what they're interested in.
yeah. They love the attention because they never got it before.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want to be divisive so they can, who knows why. I guess is Isaiah not coming? Isaiah, you
know,
avoided me? Isaiah doesn't like me anymore.
Why do you say that?
He's afraid I'm going to talk about vaccinations. He missed the end of the conversation.
So now after that, I'm just going off my notes because I was just watching the movie again in 2x speed and just taking random notes on things. So after that, Spencer describes his parents as basically country club Republicans, and he lived in the burbs. So
See,
it's like
ethno state, suburbs.
Dude, I lived in the burbs most of my life.
I lived in the burbs from like 10 to 18. So
yeah, like I've never lived in the city. I've always lived in suburban areas. But not all burbs are just a bunch of white people. There's like Mexican burbs.
yeah.
There's black burbs. Like I've never lived in any inner city area, and I've never lived in a rural area. It's the burbs. But anyway, SPLC explains that the hate that the white supremacists have are an extreme form of envy, he believes. So I'm not sure what he means by that.
What do you I just think it's weird in general to I think the reason why I don't understand it is because being hillbilly, like the cultures are actually really similar, like American black culture and my culture. So I guess too, like I've never understood it. I mean, like I that's not I people like Richard Spencer never like me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't fit in with them, and I mean maybe they get along or they humor me, but man, like it's one of those things where I mean I know I have to, man, okay, so I was doing a delivery to a country club this week, and
Mhm.
I've talked to the security guard multiple times. It's their first day opening again, and I come rolling up to do a delivery in my pickup truck because my car was in the shop. My pickup truck was, I mean, it looks like a piece of shit. It was $1,000. You know what I mean? But it
Uh-huh.
runs and it gets the job done. And so, like, normally this dude's super cool with me, and then it's just like, basically, why are you here?
Because of the truck.
Yeah, I think. And I was like, I have an appointment with the chef. He goes, who are you here to see? And I said, the chef. He goes,
Oh, you're gonna be a cook?
no, I'm a farmer. I was making a
Delivering
delivery.
microgreens,
Yeah,
man.
Jeez. So then I go in and he's like, he was so fucking rude to me. Like, why are you here? Make sure you park in the dock. And I was like, yeah, that's where I always park. I don't go in through the front, man. So I guess it's like, to me, it's about classism more than anything. And I think
Mhm.
that's what it's always about. And that's what pisses me off when they're like, you know what I mean? That's, I don't know.
Yeah, I get
Sorry.
it. It's more about class than race.
Yeah, and that's when he says country club Republicans. I mean, that's what I think. It's not. I mean, look. I mean, sure, most of, unfortunately, when you look at class, like most blacks live in the inner city. Most poor people live in the inner city. So
Well,
it's
only 20%. It's not like, I think
oh
it's very overblown. More
oh is
blacks
it?
live in the inner city than other races, but it's not majorly. They don't all more live out of the like outside the inner city than they do live inside.
Yeah, and I had a buddy. He's afraid to come to my. He's like my buddy CJ. He's hilarious, but like him and I we always joke, but it was like, he grew up from a nice, well-off family, man. Like he grew up better than I did. And he came to my neighborhood one time and he saw somebody with a blue and white do-rag and he's like, "You got Crips in your neighborhood. I'm not coming back here." And then I was like,
You
"They're
got
not."
Crips in your neighborhood?
Yeah. And I was like, "No, I don't." And then a guy came to visit me. He was wearing this, he had a similar do-rag on his or bandana on his belt, like just from working. And he was another farmer.
Mhm.
And somebody did stop and asked him about those colors and told me you shouldn't be showing those colors off. And I've never, no, I
Nobody
don't,
told you that?
no, I man, like if you mind yourself, nobody fucks with you. Now, look, a time a dude did steal one of our packages, and Rich chased him down in the truck and got the package back. And I saw a dude on a bike carrying a package, and I didn't know where he got it from. But if I saw somebody stealing one of my neighbor's packages, you better believe I'm chasing him down. Like, I mean, because it's just like we got to look out for our own. Nobody else is going to help us.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, that sucks.
I mean, dude, but it's cheap to live here. Like I couldn't have
Yeah.
a farm and live in the suburbs. Like people be like, "Oh, you're bringing down my property value."
Oh, it's like it becomes more authoritarian when you move into the suburbs.
I
Like
think
nobody
so. Yeah.
cares where you're at that much.
Nobody cares where I'm at. Nobody cares. People mind their own business in the country and in the inner city. And that's what it's like. So it's like that. The everywhere else, I mean, that's where it's like, that's where I think this shit comes from, because it's like people care, like they're trying to tell you. I remember when we first bought a house, it was like a big deal. And I was like a freshman, and a new neighbor moved in and he wanted to build a shed across the street. And our neighbor next to us was all concerned about what was going on in this guy's backyard, because we didn't have a homeowners association anymore, but he thought that people should still keep their property based on those standards. So he's telling us how he's snooping around on a dude's property. It's like, yo, dog, that's not your property. Stay the hell away from him. Let him do his thing. If he's not bothering you, you know what I mean? Like, he's not like, punching your kids, or he's not shitting in your yard. What are you doing? So I think it's just that idea, that mindset of, mind your own business. Let people, you don't have to like them, but they're your neighbors. So if they're not damaging your property, what's your problem? So, and I think like when you get to the suburbs, everybody just gets in everybody else's business. It feels like, okay, how come there's two
Yeah,
mindgasms
that
in
is
here?
true.
I just got kicked out
Oh, okay. Well, it says
Yeah,
you're still
that's
in here.
certainly true. Because I remember when I lived in a HOA, like neighbors get super fucking nosy
Dude, it's the
about
worst.
everything.
I mean, it's one thing if you're all walking your dogs and you're looking out for each other, but it's another thing if you're just trying to tell your neighbors how they should live their life. And that's like, man, that's not your business. And I think that's like, so I think like when it comes to like these ethno states, well, I don't know why we're not just saying, hey, all you racists, let's you move somewhere else. Like, why don't you guys all get together, buy some land, and have some businesses and actually do something. But it because if they were serious about it, that's what they would be doing. But they're not. They just want attention, man. They just want to give talks. They like feeling like they're dangerous or like their ideas are important. Like that was something Richard Spencer says in the movie. I came to Charlottesville to share my ideas. And it was like, no, you didn't, dude. Like you came here to create a ruckus and bask in your fame and glory, and then the cops hurt your feelings, and all that stuff. I did like that video. I'm not resisting. And then he's all like hurt and crying about like how he got pushed around by the police and they weren't doing anything. And I'm coming back. I'm coming back soon. Just a fucking joke, dude. That's the thing with Antifa too. Like they're not serious, dude. If these people were serious about it, they would get together and they'd actually do some work. And I mean, look, it's kind of like what back when I was more in the anarchist community, like it was anarcho-capitalist versus anarcho-communist, right? So there's two different anarcho factions that don't really like each other. Like they don't even have a common ground. The
Like,
common ground is stateless societies, but they're very different.
How does the concept of anarcho-communism even work? Because it seems
A
like
commune. Hippie
commune.
commune, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so if you're
Okay.
serious about it, go start a commune. Like that's
Oh,
the whole
okay.
thing. Like it, and that's kind of where I think, you know, if you're serious about something, do it. Like I didn't just talk about farming all the time. Like I had a bunch of farmers on my show and then I started a farm. And I think like if these guys are serious, let them do it. And I think we should let them do it. Like get them away from us. Like I don't want those people living near me. And when I say those people, I mean white supremacists.
And then the anarcho-capitalists, those are like John Galtians, right?
I don't know. They're all annoying. They all just talk too much.
Yeah.
All right, back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
So there's a cut from the Berkeley riots, and Milo was like, "Oh, I just came to talk about cultural appropriation." So there's like this big ass riot at Berkeley, and shortly after that, and Gavin McInnes criticizes the Antifa by saying, when you shut down the conversation, lies can thrive and have babies.
Yep.
That's true.
I don't know. I just thought the whole Berkeley riot thing was super fucking ridiculous.
I think they're all ridiculous.
It just made no sense to me. It's like you have some, he's a right-wing troll.
What's so dangerous about him, man? I remember when he came to Ohio State, we went there, and it was so annoying. It was just all these people that were parroting stuff that they heard on YouTube. Yeah, I used to be libertarian, but you know, I just blah 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 blah. And like these people actually cared, and it was so weird. And I was just there with some friends, and we wanted to see protesters. And they weren't there, man. Nobody cared. Everyone's all decked out in Trump, and nobody cared. And I remember I got tickets early, and then the tickets, it was going to cost $10. So they upgraded it, and it was going to cost us money to get in. And we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll pay $10. And they're like, it's for security. And then they let all the students in first, and we were like the last that were going to come in. And there's these people behind us that really wanted to go. So we could have got in, then we just decided, no, you guys can go. And then Milo comes out, and he's just kind of prancing around, doing his I'm gay and fabulous walk, and look at me, I'm famous. And my buddy, because we're all trolls, my buddy B-Hop calls him over, and he goes over, and my buddy B-Hop puts his hand out. He's like, what, no high fives? And then Milo goes to give him a high five. My buddy grabs his hand, and Milo drops his phone, and the screen shatters. It was the funniest fucking thing. And then we went and ate Flipside, and I think I went and watched Doctor Strange. But that was like, and I remember later in that video they had like people protesting within the auditorium, and it's like, dude, that had to be staged. Like nobody gave a shit that he was there. And the whole point of me telling this story is not just to brag that we had Milo break his phone screen, but it was also because if you let these people talk, nobody gives a shit. Like just let them say stupid shit. Nobody cares. Like
yeah,
it's
and I
not.
think Milo became more famous after that.
Of course he did. Yeah, like he became more famous until the
pedophile thing.
Yeah, when he was saying if it wasn't for his priest molesting him, it wasn't really molestation.
I've been censored. That can be a good way to gain more attention.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why that idiot, that stupid comedian who used to be funny and now he's Owen Benjamin. Like, it's just like, dude, just get over yourself, dude. Just stop it. You were acting like an idiot. And Rogan tried to say, dude, tone it down. You're going to get yourself banned. Then you get yourself banned. And then nobody wants to talk to you because you're just annoying and you're just trying to push the limit on things without even, as Hunter would say, you're just being a gadfly. So it's just like, I don't get it. Like, let people talk. Let them have their freedom of speech. You have some discourse. You can see how ridiculous they are. And then just let people decide on their own. Like, sure, some people might be influenced, and that's okay. But if you make it dangerous, more people are going to gravitate to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, whoever was in the background for Andrew, they're annoying, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And so then we have that weird TV meme artist back again wearing his ski mask. And apparently he gets shut down by Patreon. And they start to have a discussion about hate speech in the First Amendment. So we have like the various people that they ask about it. And I think Daryl says, if what you say causes harm, then people should respond. And I think what he's talking about is basically he thinks like these white supremacists cause harm for existing, and there has to be some type of resistance to them.
Yeah, whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hit me.
I don't think they get these concepts that they don't seem to get that every time they go to these events and it becomes a big media hubbub that they're actually increasing the influence of these people.
Yeah, it's funny. Don't they talk about that at one point about how it used? Oh yeah, that the SPLC guy. Yeah.
George Lucas talks about it.
Yeah. Skinny George Lucas talks about how it was inoculation versus quarantine, right? Yeah, and it used to be like the quarantine way of just not paying attention to them used to work, but now we have to inoculate ourselves or something like that.
Well, it's because there's no way. Because if you're talking about the media environment like in the 60s and 70s, pre-internet, we had just very few news outlets. So our news sources were extremely filtered. But now you have to be able to see these things and be able to, like, critical thinking is more needed than ever because we get bombarded by dumb shit all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And some people just get duped by dumb shit. So it's critically important that people understand what they're looking at.
Okay, yeah, I mean, here's a good book I'd recommend. It's also French. It's not the Guillaume guy, but it's called Propaganda. I guess it's it's basically the formation of men's attitude. It's from the 60s, but it's just basically it talks about like the more educated you are, the more easily influenced you are by propaganda.
The like more educated you are,
through like school systems, yeah. Because it's just a bunch of loose, eclectic information. And so with that, you don't really necessarily know where the information's originating from. That's a shitty summary of it, but I recommend the book.
Interesting. Propaganda. Maybe I've got to check that out. Even though I don't think I'm totally susceptible, but the Russians like to put their hands in everything nowadays.
Well, I like how that dumb lady came on to Rogan's shows, clearly like not like she's clearly like she's part of that group that actually got banned from Facebook for doing the same tactics that they accuse the Russians of.
Which chick are you talking
Part
about?
of that group?
What's that?
She was part of that group?
Yeah, and then she said that Black Guns Matter was a Russian bot. And would like and it was funny because I had Maj Toure booked for the podcast like the day after. So that shit was pretty funny, man. So this is another good book too. It was written by a Catholic, but it's basically the first of the 7 liberal arts. So I mean that's the way to really develop critical thinking, but the way she has it in the wrong order, because that's the way the Catholics did it to kind of control people. But it's grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So you know words.
Yeah. I've heard of that before. Yeah.
Probably heard it from me.
So now that we move on,
I'm so smart. Anyway, sorry. I keep derailing these conversations.
No, it's fine. I love derailments and train wrecks. But here we go.
Me too.
Daryl says, well, we start to see some insight on the younger, less obese Daryl, and he was part of the punk scene. So we have him like doing some public access videos covering what looks like some local bands. So we kind of he seems like he is part of punk, which kind of, I could see that transition into Antifa. But also, now we're at part of the movie where there's like a coalescement before the Charlottesville. They're at that gathering. It was a American Renaissance Conference. So he has his group. They get let in and by a church. A church accommodates them because the church believes in their cause, so they get to stay overnight there.
A Catholic church at that.
You know what I was thinking?
Was it a Catholic church?
Yeah, she said the priest. It could, I guess. Yeah, so it would have been Catholic, unless it was like one of those made-up churches where they just take on like Catholic titles, like bishop and stuff like that, but they're not really Catholic.
Oh, okay. You know what I was thinking during that part when I watched the documentary the second time? Couldn't they get hotels?
No, they're poor.
But they're cheap, man. They don't have money.
Listen, man, fighting fascism is expensive. You got to travel all over the country to protest a bunch of dorky white guys that probably don't get laid.
All right, exactly. And then, so they get accommodated by a church, and apparently, I think one of the Antifa guys that was there got doxxed. That was the dude, the Jesus-looking dude. And then,
Kind of looked like a drug addict.
That's the guy.
Yeah,
that's
the guy that Richard Spencer is basically talking about, like dudes that look like they're strung out.
Is that the same guy who gets in a fight with white supremacists later and then gets taken to jail, and then everyone all cheers when he comes out of jail after putting that guy in the hospital?
He beats up the old white fat dude who probably has no wife and kids. If I had to guess, because he's a fan of Jared Taylor's, or he's
probably.
I mean, you know what I mean. He probably has some shitty job, and he's probably like a guy that was like on the other, all those people when they would.
These people have to pay to go into this conference. So Jared Taylor and Richard Spencer are like fleecing these people for money.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's interesting.
Well, it's likely that they got to pay. I don't think they're holding these events for free. I think he even mentions that people buy tickets. So yeah, they're definitely paying to attend these things. And I guess this is part of, Spencer and Taylor's income is doing these public talks. And
Part of their
and the other
hustle.
funny thing is like their venues are dwindling. Oh crap. All
So
right.
unprofessional.
I got this. Give me a second on this. I'm gonna have to pause out.
All right.
One moment, guys.
Sorry,
One
I just got kicked out of the podcast for like the 5th time in a row.
It's all good. Dustin's big time on us. He's taking a phone call.
Oh, okay. What
So it's-
what was he's saying in response to what I said about how
Yeah, let me grab a pencil.
the white supremacists are getting paid for by people for security?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's part of the American Renaissance. When the American Renaissance does these things.
Oh,
Let's go to their website.
okay.
And actually let's see what it would cost if we wanted to go to one of their talks. Okay, American Renaissance. What a stupid name, too.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bring your cup over.
Yeah, bring your cup holder.
Cup over.
Please bear with us. Our store and donation pages are under maintenance and should be back up soon. So they're also out of Virginia, so which is interesting. There's a lot of racism originates in Virginia.
I'm back.
Cool.
Sorry.
I was trying to look up. Oh, you're cool, man. I was trying to look up how much it would cost to go to one of Jared Taylor's things. So I went to the store. Well, I went to the store and the store is down. And that's just pretty much it. I couldn't find when they're doing a. Okay, wait. Okay, the Scanza Forum, March 30th in Stockholm. Let's register. Let's see how much it would cost if we went to Stockholm. Our discussions will focus on anarcho-tyranny, which in the late Sam Francis described it as follows. They refuse to control real criminals. That's the anarchy. So they control the innocent. That's the tyranny. Wow, that's profound. But that's like, so Red Ice Radio is a part of it now.
What's Red Ice Radio?
Red Ice Radio was another guy that was like a libertarian, and then he was from Sweden, and then he went more into the race shit, man. I don't know why.
So it's like libertarians that are becoming like getting in the race shit.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, that seems very strange.
Yeah.
So these are like libertarian separatists.
Well, I think it's like the celebritarianism wasn't really working out. They weren't as celebrity as they wanted to be, so they went more down this racial route to see if they could get more people to give them money. Because heaven forbid you go create a business and then have your opinions. Like heaven forbid you actually live your viewpoint. Man, guys, I'm really disappointed to say I can't see how much it's going to cost to join this forum. I doubt that it's free. Info at wait, let's try just a Google search.
So let me go ahead and
oh, you got the reverberator back on. Yeah, we can go back into the
getting some of those notes.
Yeah, using your woke powers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am conjuring some information from the second and third and fourth dimensions. All right. So during this conference, Taylor tells his audience not to tangle with the protesters, but that fails, and Taylor gets quite upset about it. Quote, we're supposed to be the high IQ race. Unquote.
Yeah. Not very high IQ, I guess.
So Taylor then wants to draw a line down the middle of the country and split it by race. And then Spencer comes up He does his little spiel, and then he talks about the upcoming Charlottesville rally,
Mm-hmm.
and they call that Conference of Success.
Oh yeah.
So then that's when we transition into all the Charlottesville stuff.
Right.
And basically, the reason they went there is because it was supposed to be a protest against them taking down some Confederate statues.
I think they actually had
Basically.
permits to march, though, didn't they? Didn't they like do the correct
They
procedures?
they
didn't-
did, but they had to use the ACLU to help them.
Which
As
is pretty.
Yeah, the city I think tried to revoke their permit,
Oh.
and they actually used the ACLU to help them. So they did technically have a permit after they got that all taken care of. So they did have a right to protest, and they went and did it. But of course, like the Antifa folks found out about it, and so they came in droves to counter their protests.
Yeah.
So we get to see protester on protester violence.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Basically,
pretty.
a bunch of dumb people beating each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Virginia's weird, but you just see I just found it odd to see these militia dudes with guns there. Like I really don't get what the purpose of them being there.
Well, they wanted to show that only white supremacists like guns.
Yeah, the only person who shot a gun there was like some racist dude with a
skinhead.
ponytail.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought he was a skinhead.
No, he had like a
That was like an
ponytail
old
and a bandana.
racist dude.
Oh, is it like a
Yeah.
skullet? You think he had a skullet like a Hogan?
Maybe.
I don't
I
know.
know.
He was wearing a hat, so it's hard to tell what was going on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm saying ponytail hat. That's usually a telltale sign of skullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible there could have been a skullet in progress there. But I think I've saw that some dude made like a flamethrower, like an Antifa dude,
Yeah.
out of like a spray can and a lighter.
Is that the guy you shot at?
Yeah, he shot at
Okay.
that guy.
Okay.
Like after the fact, after he was like in complete safety. Like from what I understand, the guy with the flamethrower was assisting some disabled person, and they just didn't want like the fighting to get near any of them. So he created a flamethrower just to keep people back, which I guess worked. But the racist guy, he got perturbed and he pulled out his gun. He's like, "I'm gonna shoot you," and he shoots off a round.
Right.
Fortunately, he didn't hit anybody, but
Yeah, responsible
Fucking
gun
crazy.
ownership right there.
Nice. So that was one of the things. They show people getting beat up in a parking lot. You get to see your LARPers with their shields and sticks going at each other.
Yeah, those are the
helmets and
best.
everything.
Stickman, wasn't that his name? Stickman.
I'm not sure if Base Stickman was at, because Base Stickman is a Proud Boy, so I don't think he was at this.
No, but they were
Yeah.
trying to steal his style, man.
Yeah, with the shield.
They're
and
chomping
helmet
at
and
his
stick.
style, man.
And I just thought it was like funny, like the white supremacists with their flags, and they're like using their flagpoles to beat people up. It's just so stupid. And you're like, where are the police and all this? You can see these two groups are about to like come in contact with each other. And
That was my favorite part of the film, was when the people with cameras are going up to the cops and say, "Hey, these guys are fighting. Are you guys going to do something about it?" And it just shows that, hey, police don't have to do anything. They really don't. They're not legally required to protect us. Only politicians.
Yeah,
The mayor
so it's
specifically.
like ridiculous.
I was confused by that. That's why the cops didn't do anything.
They don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
They don't have to.
Like they have, like the mayor can say, don't do anything, and they won't.
Okay.
It's the same thing that happened at Berkeley, basically.
Yeah, they're not.
I-
Like I think of their sheriffs and sheriff deputies. It's a little bit different.
Would they only do something if people started killing each other or something like that?
No, they don't have.
Uh,
Cops don't have to legally do anything. Like that.
Wow.
There's plenty of cases in the Supreme Court where that's been the case, and it's I don't want all my cop block rhetoric to come back from before when it was cool. I was hating cops way before it was cool, so then I don't hate them because it's not. Everybody's doing it, you know. But I mean, the Charlottesville police were the reason why all that shit got out of hand. Because old boy who loves the Dodge, I mean, he drove the Dodge from Maumee, Ohio, so he's from Toledo, Ohio. One of my fellow Toledo guys. He I guess apparently his car was getting attacked when he drove off and just plowed into those protesters. So I'm not trying to defend his actions, but the police let that whole situation escalate by doing nothing. And so they just let the dumb people fight each other out.
Right.
Okay. Yep. So
Sorry,
we got
Dustin, I
all
didn't mean
that
to go
going
on that.
on. No, I love that. I love
Okay.
our delineations because we do this shit all the time. Get off
Yeah.
super off topic. That's not nothing you need to apologize about, really.
Okay.
Well, let's see what's going on next. Well, Daryl gets maced, and he does whiteface for a while.
Yeah.
I thought that must have been what the attackers were wearing when they beat up Jussie Smollett.
Yeah, apparently.
the whiteface. So
Okay.
he gets maced, and then after the one shot gets fired by the racist dude, Spencer freaks out. He wants to leave. It's like,
And the police
shots
won't
fired.
let
We gotta
him.
get out of here.
The
Yeah.
police won't let him leave.
Yeah, and there was
Yeah.
like a wall of police officers just pushing into him. I don't even know what he was doing. Was he trying to get past them?
Yeah, he was trying to leave, and then they keep pushing him, and he was saying, I'm not resisting," and he gets pushed
Yeah.
They
over.
weren't even trying to arrest him. They were just trying to
Hold him.
control the group.
Yeah, well, I think they
Yeah.
They're
just want
trying to force
keep the fight
everybody
out.
out. That's what it's like. That's what they were doing. They were dispersing the crowd at that point. They're like, "Oh shit, we fucked up. People are firing shots at each other. Let's disperse this thing."
So, not to diverge, but so I'm not sure what the laws are in Canada, Andrew. So I can't speak on police in Canada, but the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times, and this is from 2005. There's a few. There's Jessica Gonzalez tried to get Castle Rock police to find and arrest her estranged husband, Simon Gonzalez, who was under court order to stay 100 yards away from the house, had taken the children, ages 7, 9, and 10, as they played outside. He later called his wife to tell her that he had the girls at the amusement park in Denver. Ms. Gonzalez conveyed the information to the police, but they failed to act before Mr. Gonzalez arrived at the police station hours later, firing a gun with the bodies of the girls in the back of his truck. The police killed him at the scene. So she sued them, and the district court in Denver was basically, it rolled all the way up, and Justice Scalia said a well-established tradition of police discretion has long coexisted with apparently mandatory arrest statutes. But yeah, so the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in Bell versus Thompson, state of Tennessee after 6. Yeah, so I mean, there's been multiple court cases where the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect someone. That is why we have the Second Amendment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of what the laws are around that in Canada. What do you guys think about that whole statue thing? That's an interesting issue to talk about, because I used to think that those statues should not get taken down, but now I'm not so sure. I think I kind of understand. I definitely understand why people want them to get taken down, and I'm not so sure I have a problem with them getting taken down.
Here's one thing I don't understand.
Don't destroy them.
I don't understand. This is one thing I don't understand about the South. The Confederacy was not a long-lasting entity. How long did the Confederate States last for?
You know, another thing too,
I
Less
don't
than a
know.
decade?
something they don't want to
Yeah,
talk
like
about
3
was
years maybe.
they were very much socialist too.
They were?
I mean, slavery is a socialism ideal. Like you read George Fitzhugh. George Fitzhugh was pro-slavery, and he wrote a lot of intellectual stuff. He's part of like American intellectualism, of the original American intellectualism. George Fitzhugh, and he wrote a book called Cannibals All, and because they couldn't afford the plantations without the slaves, so because the slaves are property, so it's another interesting thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I agree with Dustin, like when they're like, "This is our culture." It's like it. I mean, it's a
I
bunch
don't
of.
know why the South, or at least people who love the Confederate flag,
But that's
consider
not even the real
that a
Confederate
defining
flag.
moment. Yeah, it's a Virginia battle flag, but I don't know why they doubled down on that symbol, considering that portion of history is such a small portion of the history of the South,
That's a really good point. Yeah.
and they lost. So, Southern
Yeah.
history. They're debating over 10 years of Southern history, which they utterly failed and have been
Yeah.
since disgraced.
The failed
I don't,
Confederates.
I do not feel. I don't know why they want to hang on. Like I understand knowing the history, being aware of it,
We'll put the
but we
statues in the
don't.
museum. I'm not like, don't tear them down like they tore down Saddam's statue.
What I'm saying is like
That's a good
I
compromise.
I consider like the Confederate flag no different to the "We was kings" argument. It's like, come on,
What's the "we was kings" argument?
Drew.
How dare you put this on me? You're the one that was a king, Dustin, not me. It's basically, I actually think there's some validity to that argument, the "we was kings" argument, but it's basically like there's many kingdoms in Africa, and so and I think the origin of the idea is, what are you doing, Dustin? It sounds like you're wrestling your microphone right now.
My headset spontaneously cut out, so you're hearing my
Okay.
back pocket ass rustling.
Oh,
okay.
okay. So the kings, the argument, so I think unfortunately that argument's devolved into kind of nonsense. But the original idea behind it is that there was multiple kingdoms in Africa, and was it Alexander the Great, when he came to Africa, like he fucked a whole bunch of shit up, burned the Library of Alexandria, and so there's a lot of history that was lost in Africa. And it makes sense, like the idea that just basically they're saying Egyptians were actually originally darker. It's just they interbred with I forget which group, and that's actually why Egyptians and people in Africa in that region have that skin complexion. That's the theory. Is that correct, Dustin?
That's correct, but one of the things I equate it to, why I equate it to the Confederacy.
Wakanda.
One, kings aren't good. Having a king is not a good thing. Neither was the Confederacy. That's kind
Okay.
of.
I think ideas of Confederacy, like that kind of government. I mean, the Swiss is Switzerland's a confederacy.
Well, the idea is fine. It's just I
Not
mean, like
the American
specific,
Confederacy. Yeah.
yeah, the very specific ideology and I guess because basically the South was a racial caste system, and it kind of perpetuated that for a very long time, and it's just kind of part of the culture in the South that's deeply ingrained, which is why it took them so long to release it. Like the South has always been authoritarian in nature, I think, more so than the North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is actually real quick because when I was talking about Cannibals All by George Fitzhugh, have you ever read George Fitzhugh, Dustin?
I have not.
Okay, so he was pro-slavery, and he wrote this book called Cannibals All, or Slaves Without Masters. And he said to treat the subjects of liberty and slavery in more rigidly analytical manner. Fitzhugh charts productive classical and historical accounts of slavery. This cites the Bible and evidence. Basically, a big part of his argument was that he treated his slaves better than the white slaves are getting treated in the factories up north, and he actually referred to them as white slaves, which I actually thought was pretty interesting because before Upton Sinclair's novel, yeah, you would die on the job and nobody gave a fuck. You know what I mean? Like it was like there was no children were working in factories, all that shit.
Yeah.
Well,
like
are they slaves?
18-hour
'Cause they
ships.
do have a choice.
Well, so that
True.
was the thing. They did have a choice, but he would say he compensated his slaves better. So
Yeah, but they don't have a choice though.
I agree, and they weren't also property, and there was no banknotes attached to the white people up north. So I'm not trying to equate it. I think that the mentality though, is similar in a sense, in my opinion. So he called it the white slave trade up north. Like it was.
Well, he basically is trying to use a whataboutism argument to justify the South's slavery.
Agreed, and then he also says he also talked a lot about. I think he actually referenced Fitzhugh suggests the contact between the ignorant and the more enlightened acts as a natural form of education, despite the obviously specious and racist tendencies of Fitzhugh's arguments. More recent critical scholarship has re-examined his works in their critique of modern capitalism's industrialized, mechanized society in relation to Marxism and theoretical offshoots. It's actually pretty interesting. They do make similar arguments.
Okay.
It's a good book to read.
That's you should send me the link for that or something, like, to remind me, and I'll read that.
Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
Anyway,
that reminds me of that part in the documentary where Richard Spencer is arguing with some random black guy, and he's making this common argument that slavery was good for black people because they had it worse off in Africa or something like that.
Yeah, that's a shitty argument.
It's a really shitty argument.
That's a shitty argument because a Nigerian can come here and live a great life.
Yeah,
he didn't have to be a slave to come here.
That's like what Thomas Sowell would say about that, I think.
Well, I think that I think Richard Spencer actually takes that from Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, I remember had that argument too.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali said, "Thank God my relatives were slaves so I could live in this country," or something like that.
That's so fucking dumb.
Well,
it's kind of true a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't be there without that, probably.
Well, that's that. I think he was making his own piece of that. I mean, remember, he was a member of the Nation of Islam, wasn't he, Muhammad Ali?
Yeah.
For a while. Well, it's like he's thanking his ancestors for the sacrifice.
That was what I got out of it.
Not that it happened or that it was a good thing, but that they sacrificed themselves so that he can live a good life.
I didn't realize Muhammad Ali was from Kentucky.
That makes. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, he was born in Louisville.
Okay.
But yeah, but I mean, do you guys know, like, the Nation of Islam, like, have you guys looked into what they believe?
No,
not specifically. I know they're pretty anti-Semitic, but
Malcolm X was part of that too.
Well, he was. Yeah, he left.
Yeah.
It's funny because they're kind of like Mormons are to Christianity.
Oh, okay.
So they're not real Muslims.
Well, I wouldn't tell one of those that because I might eat a punch to the face. But they believe that a mothership is going to come. It's a spaceship. It's going to come and all this other crazy shit.
So they believe weird stuff like the Mormons do.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, they believe in aliens and like kind of like how the Mormons think they're gonna get their own planet.
Right. Planet Xenu. Or wait, no, is that Scientology?
Yeah, that's
That's
Scientology.
Scientology.
You're
Yeah.
getting your
No, yeah,
cults,
Lord Xenu. Yeah.
getting your cults mixed up.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I found the book for you, Andrew. I'm gonna send it I'll send it to you through Facebook.
Sure.
For Cannibals All. So anyways, back to the film. Before I derail us too much again.
Yeah, so wrapping up the Charlottesville stuff. Spencer considers the rally a success.
Right.
And
It's great success.
yeah, which
Great
is pretty
success.
much propaganda considering they didn't even get to really do
Talk.
anything. Yeah. After that, Spencer kind of just hand waves the attack by the Charger attack or Challenger attack.
Yeah. He's like
Dodge
he's
attack.
like that's not good, but
Yeah, it's just I don't know how you can hand wave. Why do so many crazy people kill in the name of this and they don't feel there's any culpability there with their movement? It's just
he
strange.
says doesn't he say something like maybe our movement attracts like mentally unstable people, but that doesn't mean there's a problem with the movement.
Well,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
does,
I think
actually.
I think a lot of movements attract mentally unstable people.
A lot of extreme ones probably do.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's
Well,
some
can
mentally
you-
unstable people that have come into the mixed mental arts community.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I guess any
I'm
community.
I'm sure we've banned them.
Yeah, I don't
Just
think
be honest.
they stuck around much. Like if we're talking about Emil Wellington.
I wasn't
yeah.
gonna name anybody, but
No, we've named him quite a few times on the show.
oh, okay.
I don't think I ever communicated with him.
Oh, I did on various occasions, but
how was he like? What were some of his like? In what way was he an extremist?
Oh, he was just kind of like a super, like he was a talking point regurgitator.
What
So,
type of talking point regurgitator?
It's like he was super like right wing anti-Antifa type of
Oh, okay.
and like he talked about politics as if he knew what he was talking about, but he didn't.
Right.
It's like you could tell he was obviously just parroting talking points, but didn't really understand what he was saying.
Right. Okay.
And the problem was, it's like they were like super right-wing talking points, but a lot of them came from like these centrist types.
Oh.
So I know his profile picture was like a Sargon of Akkad logo.
That guy's a douchebag, by the way.
Yeah, he is. I used to watch his videos like a few years ago, but then I stopped watching them because they're all him like scolding people who are not there. They're like, you're so terrible. Like, you're not even fucking talking to the person. You're just making a video scolding someone. What's the point of that?
Yeah, and then he got schooled by some super left-wing feminists in the debate and made him look crazy.
He got schooled in a debate with Richard Spencer.
Did he?
I didn't see that one. I always wanted to, but I wanted to shake my head because Sargon didn't seem like Sargon's always talking about like he's this well-read bloke.
But he's not.
But he couldn't counter like basic Jared Taylor talking points.
Let's get real. He's just a cracker.
I was like, dude. I think I was like in the comment section. It's like you could get it countered all of Jared Taylor's bullshit with like a Thomas Sowell book. Like Jesus Christ.
You could counter it with common sense.
That too. But anyway,
Well, but there's other members in mixed martial arts that would probably call Thomas Sowell a right winger,
Yeah.
white
Oh, yeah.
supremacist.
Oh yeah,
You're almost a white supremacist too, Dustin.
Yeah.
oh, I'm a
Yeah.
white supremacist.
Yeah.
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 I'm glad you
I
can
think I've
find
been
it.
called a white supremacist before.
Yep. I know the Hoteps have.
Called who a white supremacist?
No, Hotep Jesus. He said that him and Uncle Hotep, they've been called white supremacists.
Oh.
That's not surprising, actually.
No, like because I know Uncle Hotep supports Trump.
Well, they both
Yeah.
do, but they don't. I mean, it's like to them. I mean, the way that I've heard Hotep Jesus talk, because I know Hotep Jesus doesn't vote. He's talked about it's on one of his recent things, and he's lost like a lot of white conservatives. They got mad at him. But he's like, well, I don't believe in this system, so I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to participate in it. But he'll troll, and like his thing with Trump is it's a talking point. It's a way to get the conversation started about what he really wants to talk about.
Okay.
Okay, so he's trolling people.
Yeah, he's an effective troll. That's why do you think I like him so much, Dustin? Come on now.
I don't know. There's the Starbucks troll. I remember that.
Yeah, that was brilliant, by the way. Yeah, he said that's black privilege. He said his whole thing is he's like, white people go out of their way to help you if you ask them to. And that's like his whole thing. Like people were acting like you're just so oppressed. And then I joke, I was like, Dustin, I'm so happy with people in the mixed martial arts group to remind you of how you're oppressed every day.
I do though. Like,
I know. That's so kind of
funny
them.
because it's always a white person telling me this.
Hey, Dustin, you've never lived
Funny.
in the life of the shoes of a white man who has white guilt. Come on now, it's powerful.
What's that thing you posted? You posted that that quote from Tim Pool, Drew, that he said before that it's like I forget what label he uses, but like the far radical leftists are also white supremacists, but they have guilt about it instead of pride. Something
They have
like
white
that.
guilt about it instead of pride. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the truth, man. That's what I'm saying. Like the identitarians aren't any different. Like the whole argument of, this country's so bad and it's just
They have
systemic.
guilt about their supremacy, and one wants their supremacy.
One wants it.
Yeah.
One doesn't think they have it, so they want it bad, and the others
Yeah.
think that they do have it and they feel awful about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so fucking stupid.
It
It's
is.
just like, look, it's not about race. It's about elitism. It's just like the dumbs that were like, oh, Jussie Smollett, that's black privilege. It's like, no, it's not. That's being connected.
That's privilege.
That's being fucking rich.
Yeah.
And knowing that you can drop 16 felonies. Because guess what? Dustin gets hit with 16 felonies. He's sitting down. He's going to go to jail.
Yep.
I get hit with 16 felonies. I'm going to jail.
I'm
like,
going to jail too.
You definitely are. Especially, well, first you're going to get deported and banned
Yep.
from the country. 'Cause you're Canadian. So if you get 16 felonies, Justin Trudeau will take some of that hooker money that he gave to Gaddafi's son, and he'll get you back in the country. He'll extradite you because I'm sure he could work out some deal with some American politician to get you back in the country just with Canadian prostitutes.
I should get that.
Have you seen? Did I send you that video?
I don't
where
think so. I think
this lady Michelle something is grilling Justin Trudeau in like Parliament or whatever you guys call it, and then she's like, "So please explain yourself as to how you knew about the $40,000 in Canadian prostitutes that you made the deal with Gaddafi." And Trudeau is so inept. He just stands up and says, "I'll always stand up for the Canadian worker." I'll find it. I'll find it for you guys. Hold on. I'll send it to you. It's so funny.
I want some of this. I want a share of this hooker money as a Canadian. I think
I think you deserve it. I think it's not fair that they're giving it to the ex-Libya, the people that were formerly in power in Libya. I don't know that. I don't know it just. Yeah. Hold on. What's her name? Michelle. I follow her on YouTube. But it's really funny. That's why everyone's demanding that Trudeau step down.
He's not going to step down.
Yeah, but what do you think about all this as a Canadian?
Well, I think he's just as corrupt as any politician with a pulse, which
of course he is.
Unfortunately, isn't surprising to me.
Okay, so Michelle Rempel, she's like going hard into Trudeau and she's a conservative, but isn't Trudeau apparently is super anti-sex worker, according to what some other Canadian friends told me.
Oh, I'm not fucking voting for him. Ugh.
Yeah, like liberals don't even like him. Where's this video? It's so
I'm
funny.
very pro-sex worker.
Why are you forced to pay for Justin Trudeau's mistakes? No, this one's not it. Well, what's the deal? Doesn't Canada already have weird sex worker laws? Like it's legal to be a prostitute. It's just not legal to make a living from it.
It's legal to sell sex, but it's illegal to pay for it. That's I was talking to a prostitute recently about this, actually. That's what she told me. You can get this license called body rubbing license, and it's like you can sell sex with that basically. But if you pay someone explicitly for sex, that's illegal. But there are a whole lot of gray areas and loopholes around that apparently.
All right, this link's in the chat as well. I should probably post these links in the comments section of this video.
Sure.
All right. Let me get through the last notes and then we'll sorry. This is just a couple more lines, so I'm just going to go through them. So we got the Trump response on many sides, on many sides, on many sides, on many sides.
I think he's partially right about that, but that was a dumb thing to say.
I'm gonna say it was a smart thing to say for Donald Trump.
That's a good way.
No, because of his base. Because he didn't call out his base. He said there was good people on both sides and there was bad people on both sides.
Yeah.
No, there were no good people on the white supremacist side.
Well, I think because that rally was originally Unite the Right, so it wasn't. It wasn't
at the end. Everybody who wasn't a white supremacist dropped out.
Well, they all left. Yeah, Michael Malice was going to go there and talk, and he had this whole list of things he was going to say, and then once the torches started going on, I think he was like, "Yeah, I'm not fucking with this."
Yeah, that sounds like, what do you have to be like as a person to want to go to a rally where people have tiki torches and shit? Like I would never want to do that.
You have to not have friends. You have to not get much attention from women or men. I'm not gonna hate or
True.
you know.
Well, what's with the white supremacist haircut? Like the one that
doesn't
is
it look like my haircut? No, I'm just teasing.
No, the one that Richard Spencer and every other tiki torch dude wears.
Is it like a flat top type of thing or something like that?
No, it's like they shave the sides and then leave the top longer.
Oh, okay. That's like a military sort of thing. My friend who's in the military has a haircut like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very Hitler-esque, I guess. I don't know how Hitler had his hair, but
it's just douchey, man.
They should grow.
You know, it's interesting that he does look like he's been putting on weight with this tour that he's been going on. Yeah, he looked fitter when he got punched in the face.
Yeah, I don't think he works out.
Probably not. But yeah. Also, Jason Kessler gets ran out of town during a press conference.
Who's Jason Kessler again?
He's the guy who actually organized the Unite the Right.
That's right. He was formerly an Occupy organizer.
And a proud boy. Was he really an occupier?
Yeah, Jason Kessler. How do you spell his name?
Go one
Occupy.
extreme to another.
That's what I'm saying, dude. These guys, they need to get laid.
Yeah.
They need to, you know, have some get some real friends.
Yeah. Probably a good idea.
Okay.
And then the
Oh, he
tiki
wants to do
tortures.
Unite the Right too. Apparently,
Yeah,
it
that one
didn't
was
go
funny.
over well.
No,
Wasn't that when like
20
18 people showed up?
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
I
Yeah.
was here in DC, and I think there was like a shitload of opposition. So it didn't really happen. Well,
All
the
they need
first one
is
didn't really happen either. You got
all
shit.
they need is 6 Hebrew Israelites to go there and talk shit to everybody, and everyone's feelings will be hurt, and they'll probably have some people kiss their feet, and it will all be over. I mean, that's the thing. Like everyone's afraid to talk to them.
Yeah.
And then, so the Tiki Torch Nazis go back to Charlottesville 8 weeks later. Nobody gives a shit. They just tell people, oh, we're not here to make trouble. They go around the statue, which is shrouded in black, and they start shouting, you will not replace us once again.
Right.
The audience of nobody.
That's such a dumb chant.
The Jews, you won't replace us. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And then after that, Daryl gets an award for his activism.
Yeah.
Like
And that's good, dude. Jesse Smollett's getting an award from the NAACP.
Yeah, that's
Is he really?
Oh,
yeah, you didn't hear that, man?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Dude, come on, man. He's a hero. Don't sell him short,
bullshit,
Dustin.
man. Are
Don't
you
be
serious?
jealous.
He's getting an award?
He
I
is, man.
swear he is. Yeah. Let me
What,
see which
what
award it
did he
is.
do that deserves
I
an
mean,
award?
come on. They gave the transracial Black Lives Matter guy an award.
Yeah,
What's his name?
How about
I think
Sean
yesterday,
King?
Yeah,
I think
Sean King.
I think yesterday or the day before, Tim Pool made a video
Well,
about.
Sean King's
Jesse
at least
Smollett
he's an
getting
activist.
award.
That's true.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
big money in activism. Jesse Smollett was trying to get an activist because he wasn't making the money he was making that he thought he could make as an actor.
Oh man.
Okay, hold on.
Lastly, the last note on this is that Spencer believes that the country is more divided than ever about race, or no, just more divided than ever. Period.
I don't think that's true either. I think it's
and
people are just.
Daryl disagrees.
Yeah, I disagree too, and I'll tell you why. I think it's people have it so fucking good in this country that that they just want to bitch and moan, and they want something to complain about, and so we have nothing else to entertain our time with because you can go to a grocery store. Oh, shit. He was nominated for an NAACP award. Unfortunately, he lost it. He didn't actually win that award.
That's not unfortunate. That's quite fortunate.
It was for the Image Awards. He was nominated.
Anthony Anderson wanted him to win.
He did. He really did. He worked really hard for his role. You know, and what people aren't talking about is how Gordon Bombay came out of retirement of coaching the Mighty Ducks to get Jesse Smollett that good deal in Chicago.
I didn't know that.
What?
Gordon Bombay was Emilio Estevez's character.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gordon Bombay.
Yeah, because he was Jesse's younger brother in that movie. You know, he called everyone a cake eater. And Jesse was just tired. Yeah, Jesse was just tired of being a cake eater, so that's why he staged this whole hoax. That's my conspiracy theory.
Wait, so Jesse Smollett was in the Mighty Ducks?
Yeah. There's this funny.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man. That's yeah. He was his younger brother. There's this funny. Hold on, let me see. Mighty Ducks. Somebody's already made a pretty funny YouTube video of it.
I don't think I've seen the Mighty Ducks movies
So they
for
call-
What?
at least a decade.
So do they,
I
You're a
have
Canadian.
seen-
How did you not?
No. I've seen them. It's just been like a decade at least since I watched them, probably.
All
so
right.
do they call Smollett Cake Eater now?
No, I want to call him Cake Eater because that's what Jesse called. Remember, because the one that played his brother, like he was in like People Under the Stairs, Sandlot. Like,
Yeah, I didn't know that was his brother.
yeah, he played his younger brother in it.
Because I know that kid from People Under the Stairs.
Yeah, he's just now getting back into acting.
That kid, what is his name? That's Jesse Smollett's brother.
In the show, in the movie.
Oh,
but not
in the
real.
movie, it's his
In-
brother.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I
throw
thought,
you off.
I thought this whole time you were saying that was like his real brother.
No. They played brothers in the show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
I
meant
always,
that he
I always
was a
liked
brother,
that
too.
kid that played the People Under the Stairs role, and then
Well,
like, he
yeah.
disappeared.
Well, he was smart, man. He made money as a kid, and then he went and lived a normal life. Yeah. So it's funny though too is Jussie was only in the first one because he was Terry Hall, and then his brother was Jesse Hall, and I think Jesse's in all of them, but Jussie isn't.
Wait, was he also in? Was he in Sandlot, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, Brandon Quentin Adams is the pitcher in Sandlot, so he played
Okay.
Jesse Hall, and he's the one that called everyone Cake Eater. And
Oh, Sandlot's a classic.
dude, it is Benny. I mean, Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
I think I watched it a couple months ago, and the ending almost brought tears to my eyes.
Oh yeah, with Hercules. Oh shit.
No, the ending is like when he's like a sportscaster and Benny the Jet's
Oh,
like an actual
yeah.
player.
Yeah, and he's yeah. Yeah, that was a
I
good
like,
movie,
oh,
man.
nice
They don't make
story.
movies like that anymore, man.
Well, they made part 2, but part 2 wasn't very good.
Yeah, part 2 was straight to VHS and it was a pile of dog shit. Like none of the original cast is in it.
Yeah, one of the original cast members is in it.
The dog?
No, the dog was not was replaced
Oh.
as he died. The guy
that
old
played
dude.
Babe Ruth.
No, not the guy that played Babe Ruth. The old mean guy who was blind.
James Earl Jones?
Yeah, he's in part 2.
Is he?
Is he?
Yes.
I never.
It takes place like 20 years later too.
Oh, he was dead. Dude, there's no
No.
way.
Sandlot 2 takes place
He
like
is Mr. Myrtle.
yeah, it takes place like 10 or 20 years after the first one, like in the timeline.
That's terrible. Johnny Smalls. So wait, there's a different Smalls.
Yeah, it's his younger brother.
Biggie Smalls? You related to
that's-
Biggie Smalls?
No, different. They had different parents.
Too bad.
Same last name.
Maybe one of them would be a good rapper otherwise.
You're killing me,
I like-
Small.
I like how they had a fat catcher again.
Yeah,
and
they
it's-
did.
And instead of like, dude, this just looks terrible.
It is. It's not good.
It looks awful. It's like the Never Ending Story too.
I didn't even know there was a never-ending story too.
There is.
Oh, there's 3 of them.
Really?
There's
Wow,
3.
yeah, then they-
I didn't know there was a third part.
Oh, there's a third one. It was straight to
I
VHS.
gotta find this.
And then they had an awful television show too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
man. I was a big fan of Never Ending Story.
Okay.
But you didn't like 2. Who was the guy that played him?
So
The kid that
actually
committed
that's sad.
suicide?
Yeah, man, because that kid was
He committed suicide after that, right?
Did he?
did. Yeah, 95 there was a television, there was 26 episodes. And it was really cheesy and awful. The second one was so good. Or the first one was so good as a child. And then
Yeah, 'cause it was
there
actually scary.
yeah, man, the Rock Biter and the Nothing.
Yeah,
Dude,
the
Never Ending Story too.
Statues
When you pull
with
up-
their big ass titties hanging out.
Mm. Yeah, Never Ending Story 3 was a pile of garbage. It came out in 94. It has 3.2 stars. Then there was a TV show called Tales from the Neverending Story. They really tried to like reboot it a bunch of times. Okay, yeah, the next chapter, none of the voices were the same. Jonathan Brandis.
Did he commit suicide? Right.
He did. Yeah, Jonathan Brandis committed suicide. I think he was only like 21. Remember, he was in Ladybugs. Oh no, he's 27. Shit. Yeah, he was in Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield, and he was also in It. He had a stutter in the original.
Three Ninjas or something like that.
No, I watched that.
Oh, I remember those.
I thought he was one of the kids. No, that was JTT.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas was not in Three Ninjas.
Who was in Three Ninjas?
Nobody. Yeah, nobody was in Three Ninjas. And actually, what's weird is, so the they filmed the third Three Ninjas. I don't know why I know this shit. I'm sorry. It was one of my favorite movies as a child. So they filmed they filmed the third one before they filmed the second one. Wow. And then they made a fourth one too that has Hulk Hogan in it.
Okay. Did you watch all of these?
No, I only watched the first one. Because the second one just didn't look as good. And we saw the first one in the theater because it looked really good. And there was like, and the thing was too, because I had like two brothers. So we're like, oh yeah, we could be ninjas. So that was it. I like how we went from alt-right movies to talking about Three Ninjas, Never-Ending Story.
That's what we do here.
It's because of Jussie Smollett.
Jussie Smollett ruins everything.
That's the link into the rabbit hole.
I don't know why his parents decided to use a U.
Juicy. I got confused about that at first too. I thought his name was Jesse for the longest time.
No, his name's Juicy.
That's probably what he's called in the.
Oh, the best part about
nightlife scene. That's probably what they call
him. Somebody, I don't know, but yeah, he's connected. He used that connected privilege to get off.
Yeah, because he's connected to the Obamas in some way, right?
Yeah, and Kamala Harris. Fox, that state's attorney, man, it seems like a huge cover-up. Like, she's hiding something, and then she was saying that the full case wasn't supposed to be sealed, and then Juicy's lawyer was saying, no, we wanted it sealed. Dude, there's so much different shit being said. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Juicy Smollett.
Juicy. Yeah, this guy, Lionel Harris, he just did this like 30-minute video on it, and he just pulls through all these news articles from the beginning. And he's a comedian. It's Lionel Harris Live, I think it's called. This shit is so funny. I'll post that link too. But he'll take you like, it's like the full 30 minutes. It's like a 30-minute video going all over the case, and he just made it just to kind of say how fucking bullshit it was. And they're saying how we let him off because of the community service that he's already done, and it's like, what community service?
Yeah.
Like, what community service has he done? So I don't know.
You don't get off of a felony with community service.
Yeah.
Let alone 16.
Yeah, community service is for people who get like DUIs and shit.
Yeah, and apparently too, they were saying that they were Nigerians, but these guys are actually born in Chicago and they're boxers. Like, everything about that case was a whole bunch of fuckery. So, anyways, and now
he got fired from his show, right?
Yeah, no, Terrence Howard wouldn't look at him. Like, Terrence Howard just wouldn't even interact with him or look at him.
Aren't the FBI supposedly pursuing
yeah, weren't they trying to take the case federal?
Yeah.
Well, that's what Trump is saying. And then the mayor
Rahm Emanuel like super pissed off about it.
Well, he was saying that Trump's the reason why he got off.
Trump is the reason?
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
people are saying that. That's so funny.
They're saying crazy things like It seems like because Chicago's so corrupt, like this was some like planned, staged. So one of the theories is because Kamala Harris, whatever she chooses to go by now. I guess she's changed what she wants to be called. She was trying to do this anti-lynching bill, and so like there's theories because he's friends with her, like it was supposed to be some staged thing to try to make it be a shoe-in thing. But the thing that they weren't expecting was the Chicago police to actually do their job.
What the hell is an anti-lynching bill? It's not like there's a pro-lynching sentiment.
Well, that's
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a it's kind of like the bill I was telling you about before we got started. The what was that mail bill? The Georgia Testicular Bill of Rights.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
It would make it so men have to get permission from women before they can get drugs like Viagra or Cialis. Canada acknowledged vasectomy requirements or waiting times to buy sex toys are tongue-in-cheek response.
Sex toys too? Wow.
Dude, yeah. I mean, it was currently women in Georgia can receive abortions up to 20 weeks into pregnancy. It was something like it was like to protest some abortion thing. That's apparently what they were saying.
What if you want to use like you have a sex toy that you want to use yourself without like for masturbation or something like that?
I don't, dude, I don't know. I think like, did you guys see? I thought it was really funny. I thought I posted it. Or oh no, I sent it in the last chat. The guy who did the presentation to counteract the Green New Deal.
Oh, that guy was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh yeah. You guys saw that. I mean,
I'd
it's
love
just,
to ride around
everyone's
on a
like-
Raptor with a machine gun and a rocket launcher. That sounds fun.
yeah. Everyone's just like grandstanding and not doing anything. It's all like it's just. I mean, that's what our government does. So
I think that's what most governments do.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so whatever. I think there's a point to what I was saying. I forgot how I even got on that topic. Oh, the
Something about-
anti-lynching bill. Yeah, let
Yeah.
me find it.
Not like there's a pro-lynching.
Oh no, I'm pro lynching, but it's
Someone
Yeah.
could so easily edit
Yeah.
that out of context and make you sound like a white supremacist.
oh, I
So
can't
the
wait.
term,
I'll-
the term lynching must have something to do with the last name of some dude named Lynch, right?
Oh,
well,
really?
well, I'm pretty sure the weird thing is a lot of people were lynched. It wasn't just black people back in the day. It was a lot
No,
of
it's all kinds of people were lynched.
Yeah. Okay, so Congress failed to pass an anti-lynching bill. So two of the more popular presidential candidates, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, were both involved. Yeah, so they were trying to do this anti-lynching bill back in February. And I think it didn't get passed. It was going to be the Justice for Victims of Lynching Act. It was passed by the Senate in December 2018, marking the first time in American history that federal anti-lynching legislation had been passed by the Senate. Because, guys, I don't know if you knew this, but we need laws for people to know that lynching is a bad thing to do.
Yeah, I don't get what the purpose of the bill was for.
Well, you know, people get lynched all the time now, so that's why. No, I mean it was just some grandstanding thing, and so and it was supported by the NAACP, the Anti-Defamation League, and the Equal Justice Initiative. So the theory is that because it looked like it was staged, like Jussie's thing was staged, and it was a plan that just didn't work out well since he wrote a check and all that other stupid shit. And that and then the also the base assumption that MAGA people watch Empire
Really?
was like,
what?
That's a dumb assumption.
but that was his assumption. Hey, Empire. And he said he ignored him. I mean, like if you listen to his story, it was so crazy. And then so many people jumped in. I mean, Ellen Page went on
Yeah, that was funny.
blaming it on Mike Pence. And because Ellen Page, she's married.
She's
and it
woke
was
too.
dude,
Yeah, I
it's
didn't even
just-
know who Jussie Smollett was until after
No
this
idea.
shit
No idea who
happened.
he was. And I was like, oh, he was Jesse's younger brother in Mighty Ducks. Because if it was like, oh, Jesse, yeah, he was the cake eater. I mean, that's what he's. That's
Well,
what I.
it's
That's,
true.
he
It's
was
true
in.
because he actually did get his K.
He did,
Yeah, because
and he got to eat it too.
Yeah, he didn't go to jail.
And then they were
So
talking.
he's definitely a cake eater.
Yeah, so I think that to kind of finish with the film, that I don't think that we're as divided as people think we are. I think if we actually talk to each other, we'd realize that, hey, there's elites and then there's the rest of us. Because the middle class is going away, and it has nothing to do with race. I mean, there's clearly there's rich black people, there's rich Asians, there's rich white people. There's more rich white people in this country. That's because white people have controlled things for a lot longer. So, man, I don't want, to me, it's again, we're mixed martial arts. It's about culture. It's not about race. And I don't think it's that bad, man. I think if you have conversations, you realize, I mean, man, most places are cool. Like my city's cool. I think if you actually talk to somebody, there was, man, there's just like an example. Like I think
unless you talk to James Fields Jr.
Yeah. Nobody was talking to him though, man. He was just he was just in a dodge.
You could tell, like, just by his look, that he didn't have many friends.
Yeah, I'm sure that kid wasn't picked on at all. I mean, that's why I bought a Dodge Charger.
Challenger.
Challenger, yeah. I knew this guy. He was actually
I'd buy a Dodge Challenger. I think they look cool.
I think they look cool too, but I'm happy with my Ford Focus. If I could afford a Challenger and pay cash for it, I'd probably have one. But I knew this guy. He drove a Camaro. It was like he got a new one. He traded in his old one, got a new one.
The new ones look ugly, I think.
Well, this is like 2012. And
those new ones look ugly.
Yeah, the ZL ones or whatever. And I was just like, whatever. But it was like, I mean, that was his thing. That was his pride and joy, was his car. And I knew the dude. He wasn't killing it with ladies by any means. He worked out a bunch and liked to talk shit. He was a little dude, talk shit. One time talked shit to the wrong dude. Even though he was training boxing, and dude hit him one time, knocked him out, called the cops, and pressed charges against the guy. And I was just like, dude, if you talk shit to someone and you get hit for it, you take the L because you shouldn't have been running your mouth. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. So we're not really friends anymore.
Because of that incident? Yeah,
because it was just stupid. Like what,
because
dude,
stupidity caused him injury, and he expected you to support him for that.
Yeah, and I said, well, look, dude, we're friends. If you want me to go up there and we can go beat this dude's ass, like that's one thing. But calling the cops because you talk shit and got knocked out, then dude, like I mean, like if I was there, I probably would have fought that guy because he was my friend. And but whatever.
You already crossed the line by calling the cops.
Well, to me, it's just that shit.
It was a sore loser.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you talk shit to a guy in a bar on New Year's. You're at a townie bar in a small town. You're wearing a tuxedo. The guy says nice suit, and you say it's a tux, not a suit, and the dude hits you. Oh no, and he calls him an idiot. He goes, "It's a suit. It's a tux, not a suit, dumbass." Then the guy punched him in the face because they're drunk, and you're talking shit to another drunk guy. So when people are drunk, go figure, they don't think that well.
How long was he knocked out for?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but that's pretty funny. I guess he woke up and the cops were there.
So he got a TBI and then he woke up?
I don't know. I think I mean, I just think to testify against a guy and like make sure the guy gets in trouble with the law because you ran your mouth and took a
so you to testify? Were you there?
Dude, no. I wasn't there. No, he testified against the guy. Like, dude, pressed full
he actually
charges.
went to court.
He took the guy to court. Didn't even sue him. He just took him to court and made sure that the law punished him. And it was like,
Wow, that's
it's like,
fucking horrible.
dude, that's so shitty. And this dude is clearly like, and so then like, I guess it like after the fact, like he would harass the guy because he knew he'd already pressed charges on the guy, and then the dude was kind of terrified to be around him. So I don't know.
So
I
were
don't-
they running in the same circles or something?
No, they just got drunk at the same bar. I mean, it's like that's
So your
that's the
friend
thing.
is basically like an asshole then.
Yeah. Well, he's not my friend anymore, but yeah, he was my friend. We were good friends. But dude, I mean, I wasn't who I was. I mean, back then, who I was isn't anybody who I am today. You know what I mean? Like I was.
You're still a knucklehead or what?
No, I mean, I'm not a drunk anymore, and I like try to be positive things in society. I don't work at Verizon Wireless anymore and hate my life.
Yeah, I've listened to Hunley's episode, so I know that.
Yeah.
I think I told Hunley that his best episode ever was you coming on.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. I thought my Mindgasms episode was okay. I liked your episode with Hunley. That I got it, and I was like, man, me and Dustin are kind of similar, but not similar. But it was like, you're like, yeah, I was a big kid and I was picked on. People made fun of me for my clothes because the way they fit me, and I was like, oh man.
Well, I was socially inept.
Yeah, I was. Me too, man.
In grade school, so I didn't know that the clothes that I was picking looked gay. I just liked them. So
Yeah,
I was made fun. I wasn't gay, but I got made fun of.
I remember.
Gay.
I remember wearing Looney Tunes T-shirts in middle school, and that wasn't a thing to do in Hilliard. And I remember I got
wore a
picked on a lot.
Tasmanian Devil shirt.
Me too. Me too. I got picked on for it. It's probably the same T-shirt. Yeah,
well, the shirt that I had a couple, but the one I wore in middle school, I think it was like one of those long sleeve shirts that's like made to look like it's a short sleeve shirt.
That's what I had.
Long sleeve shirt.
Did it have a hood?
I think it did.
Yeah.
Oh, I had one of those.
The same shirt.
Yeah, it was like poor people clothes, dude. It's shit you could
Yeah,
get at Kmart
I know it
because
probably came from Kmart or something like that.
You could get it on layaway.
That was
Well,
like
it's probably the same shirt, man.
Yeah,
that was
probably.
that was like a fashion thing when I was a kid for a while too, to wear a T-shirt over top of a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, I still do that if it's cold out.
Yeah.
And
Why not
then
just
I was
put the
also
long
wearing stupid shit to school, like biking shorts.
Yeah.
Like that's super gay. I didn't know it was. I just loved cycling at a young age. Like I spent most of my time biking around town. And I looked up to like people with who were all decked out in cycling gear. I was like,
Okay.
oh, I want biker pants. And I wore them to fucking school like an idiot.
Oh, okay.
That shit's funny. Well,
that's when people thought I was gay.
yeah, I never. I mean, all my friends call me gay, but I'm okay with it. I don't think people actually think I'm gay. They can though. I don't really care. You know, I'll own it. Sure, I'm gay. So, well, guys, we can. That's a good sound clip too for people. If I was more popular, somebody would like clip it together, and then it'd say Drew Sample comes out on Mixed Metal Arts Chats.
You're a gay white supremacist.
Apparently,
Yeah.
yeah, apparently I am. Guys, I'm trying to really make a difference. Well, I tell you what, guys, it's been about over 3 hours. So, Justin Gaethje's about to fight, so I'm going to watch this fight. But thanks for having me on again, Dustin and Andrew. Glad I could participate.
Oh, it's great to
Yeah,
talk to you.
man. You're welcome anytime. And the reverb only accentuates how cool of a person you are.
Yeah.
Because I come from a deep well of wokeness. So, I'm
Yep.
telling the truth.
Hey, that is
Yeah.
true. You are the woke centrist. I'm the red-pilled liberal.
The red-pilled liberal.
That's what I should call myself. You're the woke
What the hell
centrist.
does that mean? Oh, because it's oxymoronic.
Yeah. Yeah. Woke centrist. I can be the red pilled liberal. And we can just go from there. All right, dudes. Well, I'm gonna bail out. I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
All right,
Great.
man. Take it easy.
Great
Bye
to
later.
talk to you, man.
Good talking to you guys.
All right. What have you been reading, Andrew?
Oh, I've mostly been reading more of that book I told you I was reading, the an anthology of British literature, and I've been reading a lot of stuff on the side to do with that's related to that, so like old Middle English literature, and a lot of literature going from like the 800s all the way to like the 1300s or so now, in the Canterbury Tales and stuff like that. And then also I finished reading those Mists of Avalon books, which are about the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, kind of from the perspective of Queen Guinevere and all the women involved with that. And then I finished reading that book that I told you I was reading. That's the second one in that Pillars of Rome trilogy, which is those historical fiction novels about a senator and a powerful senator and a powerful general in the times of ancient Rome. You need to take a phone call?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Hello? Yes. All right, one moment, please. All right, let me see what I could do. I'll be down. All right, go ahead, Andrew.
And I also started reading this book that Hayden Bruce sent me, called, I think it's called History of Philosophy in America, and it's like a history of major philosophical thinkers in American philosophy and theology from the 1720s all the way to 2000, and it talks about Enlightenment thinkers and Calvinist theologians and sort of the clash between Enlightenment values and Calvinist priests and people like that. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know that Canterbury Tales stuff. I remember reading it in high school. It's like, I don't understand a lick of what they're saying.
It's really helpful to watch those videos I think I told you about. There's this YouTube channel called Course Hero, which has short like summaries and analyses of a whole bunch of old literature and stuff. It's really helpful watching those, because sometimes I don't understand what's going on until I watch those videos, and then I notice, oh, these are actually a little more interesting than I thought. Because some of them are like kind of satirical and being kind of raunchy for the time, like talking about people showing their asses to people and people cheating on each other and like flinging shit at each other and stuff like that. But it's really hard to understand in that language.
Flinging shit at each other.
Yeah, I think that might be a, I'm not sure that specific one is in there. I might be making that up, but it's stuff like that.
All right. Well, give me a few minutes because I gotta attend to something here. Here's
Okay.
what I'll have you do. I don't know. Can you do freestyle for like 5 minutes?
Yep.
All right, let's go freestyle for 5 minutes. I'm listening, but I gotta
Okay.
deal with somebody here.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I know this whole topic that this chat is about is really controversial and divisive and polarizing. I know a lot of people. There are a lot of people on both sides. Like there are definitely some people who think only the alt-right is the problem and Antifa are not a problem at all. And then there are other people who think that only Antifa is a problem and the alt-right are not a problem at all. And it kind of seems to me like the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like they're both problems. Maybe the alt-right is a bigger problem. And I think Drew was making some good points about how this is at least primarily cultural and not racial, like the differences between people. And it's probably important too to kind of have this mindset of actually talking to each other. And then usually when you do that, you find out that you're more similar than different. And that's why I personally agree more with this common humanity approach rather than the uniting against a common enemy approach that that Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff talk about in their new book, The Coddling of the American Mind, which Dusty and I talk about all the time, which is this idea of actually talking to, like, befriending your enemies instead of encouraging violence against them. And it's more of this this attitude of people like Daryl Davis and people like Martin Luther King Jr. as well. And for those people who don't know, Daryl Davis is a guy, he's in this documentary called Accidental Courtesy, which you can watch on Netflix. And he's a black musician who's been befriending neo-Nazis and white supremacists and stuff and people like that for years. And he's been converting them by becoming friends with them. And yeah, like this narrative of uniting against a common enemy, it can be an effective narrative. And I think Dusty made a good point at one point too, saying that violence can solve problems, but it's probably better and I think more effective for creating a sustainable society to try to resolve your problems by talking to each other without escalating to that sort of thing. Maybe violence is sometimes necessary in times of revolution and stuff like that, but I don't think that we're in that type of climate right now where that sort of thing is necessary. I personally don't think that. A lot of people disagree with me about that, of course. Maybe I'm wrong, but everyone can think whatever they want to. And
what about the coddling of the Canadian mind?
The coddling of the Canadian mind. I think that's equally as bad as the coddling of the American mind. At least it seems that way. I didn't really have that much experience with that because I was out of school before that whole thing kind of started. But there was a little bit of that sort of thing when I went back to
You went back to school, right? College?
Yeah, I went back to college for a semester a few years ago, and all of my professors would use Trump as examples and things. Not always as like a bad example, but they would always talk about Trump. And then only one of my teachers was actually a self-proclaimed socialist who was in an anti-Trump protest, and he was saying a whole bunch of like anti-Jordan Peterson things in his class, like how Jordan Peterson refuses to use people's gender pronouns and stuff like that. And then there was one time also where people came into my class who were part of this group, and they said, if you're feeling uncomfortable and you're feeling like everything is getting to you too much, there's this room we have. And they didn't use this phrase, but it was a safe space. I went into it one time because they were having a so-called open house, and it's this place with couches and you can have free snacks, and then there are a few rooms at the back that are secluded that you're not allowed to bring your phones to, where you can sit or take a nap if you want to get away from people. And I thought that was okay because it didn't, especially since there weren't like puppies and coloring books and stuff. Nothing wrong with that necessarily, but I could see that sort of thing a little bit in there. There are puppies and coloring books in some of them, apparently, at least.
Yeah, I've heard about those. But Coddling an American Mind, great book. Also, we've done a past MMA chat about it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Books I've been reading. Have you heard of a book called A Bridge of Spies?
Yeah, that's one by oh wait, no. Am I confusing that?
You might be.
Am I confusing that with John le Carré?
You are.
Okay. Then I think I might have. Okay.
The Bridge of Spies is actually nonfiction, so it's about. They focus on two spies in the Cold War in this nonfiction book.
Okay.
One of the spies, of course, is a Russian spy. He's kind of like a polymath, so he's like super smart and good at everything. And the other spy is an American spy, but he's not an on-the-ground spy. He flies a U-2 spy plane.
Okay.
So yeah, it talks about how the various different spying programs. They do talk about West Berlin and the Stasi a little bit.
Okay.
So it's like a lot of good, interesting spy stories from the Cold War. So that was one of the fun books. I thought it was a pretty interesting book that got like into depth into how like spying was conducted and stuff by both of the countries.
Okay.
Another book I just recently finished was, it's going to sound strange, it's called The Lion of the Living Room or The Lion in the Living Room.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this book.
No, I haven't.
It's a book about cats.
Okay.
I know it sounds poofy, but it's actually an animal science. I would call it science. Some parts of it science, some parts of it cover specific aspects of cats and how bad they are for their environment.
How bad cats are?
Yeah, because they're not saying that, oh, we should exterminate all cats and cats are bad, but cats are incredibly adaptive.
Okay.
And they can survive like they in places where they're invasive species, they're very hard to get rid of them.
Like predatory cats, like lions and what?
No, we're talking about regular house cats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not lions. Like the interesting thing about the buck is like bigger cats are actually becoming harder to sustain in the wild.
Oh, okay.
While the regular house cat is spreading like wildfire and they devastate ecosystems
Oh,
because they don't have a
interesting.
lot of, yeah, cats, despite their size, they don't have a lot of natural predators,
Yeah.
which is weird. So there's that aspect of cats. They talk about just kind of how they came into domestication, about how cats were viewed in ancient history. So it's just kind of a general historical, and they also talk about toxoplasmosis quite a bit in the book as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
and
that's one of that's the first thing that got Joe Rogan interested in Robert Sapolsky, which is what got me interested in Robert Sapolsky in the first place.
Yeah, I first learned about Sapolsky from Radiolab and his work on the
one that says no escort.
Oh, you need that one?
Yeah. Try that one. If this one's only for 24 hours, it one's like pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Yeah, Robert Sapolsky. I love Radiolab. I don't know. Do you listen to that podcast?
Yeah, I haven't in a while, but I have listened to it many times before.
Yeah, I went ahead and listened to like older episodes too, because there's some really interesting um episodes, just like
Yeah.
really science heavy episodes. I
And
love those.
Sapolsky is in a bunch of episodes too.
Yeah, one of them I really loved was when they talked about the baboon colony. And I think Joe Rogan actually brought that up recently when he spoke to who did he speak to about that colony? Oh, Christakis.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. He talks to Christakis about like society, human evolution, and the way that people arrange themselves in society. And they do talk about Sapolsky a little bit and that case of the baboons.
Okay.
So yeah, I first heard about I heard about Sapolsky on the Radio Lab first. That's where I first
Okay.
heard about him.
Okay.
But yeah, the Lion in the Living Room covers a wide range of topics concerning cats and the history of humans' interaction with domestic cats and things like that. I'm a cat person, so I found it pretty interesting. I'm not sure if it would be interesting to someone who's not a cat person, but I thought it was. And I used to be involved in some of the things that they talk about. I guess you'd call it manage a feral cat colony where I used
Yeah,
to
I
live.
remember you told me that. Yeah.
So I was like deeply intimate with some of the things that they spoke about in the book. So
Okay.
I was like, yeah, yeah. I remember one of the quotes in the book is like, yeah, and the feral colony managers, there's always discussions of whether tuna is better than mackerel. I was like, yep, I've had those discussions myself.
Oh, I
So,
didn't even know about that. I give actually both my cat and my dog like tuna, so we give some to both of them. But I didn't hear this about mackerel. What's this debate between tuna and mackerel?
okay, so if you're part of a TNR program, which I kind of created for my neighborhood, because we had a lot of feral and stray cats. One of the things you do is trap cats in cages, so you have to get an appropriate bait. Some people believe in tuna, some people believe in mackerel.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so you can get both of these in a can, which makes it convenient. Thing about mackerel is it smells super fishy. So that
More than
smell,
tuna?
yeah, way more than tuna.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because tuna is like processed. In the mackerel cans, it's just like big chunks of mackerel fish, like with all the bones and everything. So it's not separated meat. You're just getting chopped up pieces of the actual fish.
Okay.
And it's in like this juice stuff and it smells super fishy and bad. If you want to bait a cat into a trap, the smellier the better. Because they could smell the bait from a long ways off. And when you're managing a feral colony and you're planning to do a trap, you have to make sure not to feed them a couple days before, so they're very hungry and they'll fall into the trap. So like it looks scary, but hey, I'm hungry. I'm going in there.
Hmm. Okay.
Another book I recently finished was Russian Roulette. It's another Trump book. It's more about Putin though, about Trump than Trump.
Oh, okay.
So it's about basically like the Russian plan of kind of infiltrating certain um, organizations in the United States, and
Okay.
talks about um, like what type of relationship Trump had with Putin, and they didn't really have a relationship at
Oh, okay.
all. But
Wow.
Putin definitely was trying to influence Trump because Trump wanted to do some real estate projects in Russia.
Oh, yeah, I had heard that.
So he was using that, Putin was using that as a way to influence Trump in certain ways.
Did it work?
I guess so. Like it's hard really to say. I would say yes and no, because he still did. There were sanctions that still happened, but even before he was president, he was like pro Russia,
True.
so he was already kind of in their camp before he was even president. So it wasn't really like the book didn't. The only thing that the book really demonstrated was that yeah, there's a lot of they didn't have like a strong relationship, but there was a lot of business ties to Trump and Russia.
Okay.
And the thing is Trump doesn't have a lot of cards left to play business wise because there is no U.S. bank that'll lend Trump money.
Oh, really?
No, so he has to go overseas in order to do stuff because no U.S. bank because he's bankrupted 4 times. No U.S. bank was gonna lend him money.
That's why I think one of the reasons he wanted to become president was so he could get rich.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think he was gonna use his influence to save. I don't know if his business is failing, but it's definitely not as big as it was before he went through all those bankruptcies.
Yeah.
Uh, but another book I'm reading currently is Xenocide. It's the third book in the Ender saga, and we're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about the Ender's Game saga. I highly recommend these books. They have like some really cool philosophical dilemmas in these books.
Yeah.
And Xenocide, it's basically about it's a direct sequel to the other book because there's 3 books, and it feels like the first and second books are only connected by a character. Like they're not like direct sequels. What I feel like a direct sequel is like it takes place right after the last book, you know.
Oh, okay.
But between the first book and third, or first and second, I think there's like a 20-25 year gap.
Oh, okay.
So this Xenocide, it takes place right after the second book, so it's like a direct sequel,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's really good. I really think Orson Scott Card is a really good science fiction writer. Surprisingly, I always heard bad things about his political views, but his books are entertaining.
What did you hear about his political views?
I think he's like anti-gay or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like he has like some
Mm.
anti-gay political views, something of that nature. I don't know the full extent of what it is, but that's
Mm.
just what I heard.
You speaking so favorably about those books makes me want to give them another try. Because I told you I read the first one before and wasn't a
You
huge
thought the
fan of
first
it.
one was
But
boring, yeah.
yeah,
You told me that.
yeah.
But you have to remember too, is like I didn't read the first 2 books. I listened to them on audiobook,
Maybe they're better that way.
and in the audiobook they actually use different people for different characters.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you're listening to a radio play or something instead of like someone just reading an audiobook. So it's pretty
Oh,
high production. Both of those audiobooks have some pretty good production values. The only problem I had with the second one is it seems like sometimes they change the voice actor for some of these characters mid-book,
oh,
which
really?
got a little bit confusing. Yeah. But
Huh.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to revisit that. But on this third book right now, I'm actually just straight up reading the ebook because I accidentally checked out the ebook instead of the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
So right now, I actually do have I'm on the waiting list for the audiobook in case I don't finish the ebook. Because I'm not sure if I will. It's like a 400-page book, and I think I'm only like 80% in. No, I'm
That's
not.
pretty
I'm
far though.
sorry. Not 80. Not 80%.
80%
20%.
left? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have 80% left. I'm about. I think I'm page 71 out of 400 or something like that.
Okay.
So I'll have to see. And that, and I have so many other print books that I'm reading it, and because it's a library book, I give it the highest priority, and I don't really read the other two. And the other two that I've been reading is Fires of Heaven, and then there's the Bell Curve, of course. I've only really read
Which
the first 10 pages.
oh, okay. Which which book in the Wheel of Time series is Fires of Heaven? Is that the fourth, fifth,
Oh, it's book 5.
fifth? Okay. What
Yeah, no,
what do you think of the bell curve so far?
I've only read the first 10, so it's like just the intro. So I'm not really into the meat and potatoes of it yet. It's written easy enough to read, but a lot of it seems pompous, just like the way
Mm,
it's been written.
that's not
So we'll
surprising.
see. We'll see. I have, because I know it's not really a science book, it's a political activist book.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's not,
It kind
it's
of disguises itself as a science book though, doesn't it?
it does, but it's not. I have to read it. I'm not. I can't judge it yet. I haven't read the book, but I
Yeah,
know it's in the book. There's policies, prescriptions, and science books don't have policy prescriptions.
right. Yeah,
They
you
just
I think
show you
I
data.
might read it too because you're reading it.
Yeah, it just shows you data. So I'll have to see what's going on with the book. I'm gonna finish it eventually. I think most of it. It's like a thick ass book, but most of it is like the last 200 pages, I think, are indexes and footnotes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's often the case with nonfiction books.
So there's a lot. I think it's maybe 400 or 500 pages. Like the book itself is like 800 pages, but a large portion of that isn't the actual meat and potatoes. There's a lot of indexes, appendixes. I think one of the appendixes is like 100 pages long.
Wow, that's long for an appendix.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what that. And I also just finished the Elfstones of Shanna.
Oh, that's the second one, right?
Yeah, much better than the first one. I will admit that.
Oh, that's good.
I'll also have to check out the TV show because I know the TV show is based off of the second book.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I think you mentioned to me before that there was a TV show, but I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Because I've been watching the American Gods TV show recently. I
Right.
think I'm almost done because it's actually still filming in progress. Because they're on the second season and they've only released up to the third episode of the second season.
Oh,
And there's like a wild divergence in the TV show versus the book. There's like some huge differences. But it's an interesting show, interesting book. I highly recommend it. And I believe American Gods won the poll, so we'll be doing that in a month.
in a month?
Yeah,
Okay. I
in
think
a month.
maybe I'll read that like a week or so before the chat.
Yeah, it's not a terribly long book. I think it took me less than a week for the audio to listen to the audiobook. And then a week after that, we will be doing the next Wheel of Time book, Fires of Heaven.
Cool.
No, that'll be the Great Hunt. I'm sorry, Great
Right.
Hunt.
I think I'll probably start reading that and going through all the Wheel of Time spoilers and Legendarium episodes like a few weeks before the chat, like a week before I start American Gods, I think. So I can give
Yeah,
myself enough time this time.
yeah, for sure. So
It didn't work, man. I have someone else coming over. Can you ask your company? be like a badge that works at a building. This is like
Yeah, I have to ask him about that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask about it. No problem. All right. So yeah, those are all the things I've been reading lately.
Lots.
Yeah, Wheel of Time. What? I can't wait till I get the next Belgariad. 'Cause those are
How
fun
many?
little stories.
How many are in that series?
Well, from what I know, there's two trilogies. No, not two trilogies. There's two series of 5 books each. So it's a total of 10 books.
Okay.
And I guess he started writing them in the early 80s.
Oh, okay.
And I like them. They're like interesting. They do more character building than the Shannara books. Shannara books are okay. The first one, I don't know. First one, I think I gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
It seemed super derivative. The second book was much more interesting. Um, I liked it. I think I gave that 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
Belgariad books are all pretty good. They actually have humor. The Terry Brooks books, I can't think of humorous situations that happen.
Yeah.
Like like the writing. There's like some really cheeky writing in David Eddings' Belgariad book.
Oh,
Um,
David Eddings? That author sounds familiar. I think I have. I'm pretty sure I have. I have some of his books in my house that I haven't read before, but I'm pretty sure they're not Belgariad.
yeah, there's the Belgariad, and then the other series is called something else. I forgot what he calls it. But I'll have to, yeah, he's a pretty interesting fantasy. I like that he's able to be humorous about things.
Right.
And I think that's important for me because I don't like everything being straight up serious all the time.
Yeah,
And the
that
main character,
I was just thinking about that. A good parallel for that is Wheel of Time, because there is a little bit of comedy in that in comparison to both Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. There's not really humor in either of those.
yeah, there was humor in the show though. They
Yeah,
definitely had that going on for it.
that's true.
But yeah, there's some pretty good humor in it, just when characters are bantering with each other. So I'd recommend it. I like David Eddings' writing style for these.
Cool.
And yeah, that's what that was all about. But I want to read. I have so many damn books on my waiting list. And I get through them pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
I'm waiting because I wanted to start a new Sanderson series called Stormlight Archive.
Oh, okay.
Supposed to be his latest and greatest.
Oh, cool.
Also, I want to continue finishing those other series because I want to at least get through the basic trilogy for the Shannara, Sword of Shannara. I want to get through that basic trilogy. Did you know there's like 27 Shannara books?
I didn't know there were that many. I know when I kind of when I kind of randomly stopped reading them when I was a teenager or something like that. I knew that there were starting to be other shoot-off series like The Witch King of Shannara or something like that, and a bunch of others, but I didn't know there were so many. No.
Yeah, there's many. 27. Jesus.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm also wanting to start the C.S. Lewis Chronicles of Narnia because I've
Didn't you
never
read
read them.
Prince Caspian already?
I haven't read any of them. I've only seen movies and miniseries based off of it.
Oh, I thought you had told me that you read Prince Caspian.
Oh no, I haven't read any of them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I just want to check that out. I have the other still working on the Broken Earth series.
What's that one?
That is by N.K. Jemisin, and it's like a post-apocalyptic world where we have like these people with special powers that control like tectonics and the earth. Like everybody who has this ability also has the ability to create a catastrophic event that can destroy the world.
Oh, okay.
So people with these abilities are closely monitored, and if they can't monitor their abilities correctly, they basically become lobotomized
Oh, wow.
because they're way too dangerous to have these people walking around that can basically cause a super volcano.
Oh, wow.
So it's about these people with these abilities and how they're controlled, how they're used, because they all work at this institute or something, this place where they train all these people, and they get sent to like solve problems for villages. Like for instance, I think one gets sent out to a town that has like some type of I think there was like some blockage in their bay so that ships weren't able to dock, and it was causing havoc for trade in that town. So they called one of these, like, they're like geomancers. They control the earth to remove this, basically, this land formation for them so that the ships can go freely in and out of the bay. And I think it was like a coral reef buildup or something.
Hmm.
So they
Okay.
basically have the power to create earthquakes and create rock formations and lava flows, and it's really crazy because all of these people with this ability have basically, if they're not able to control it, they can easily cause disaster.
Oh, okay.
It kind of reminds me of like Men Channelers and Wheel of Time.
Oh, okay.
Except they're not going crazy, they just don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
Like if someone, because like their emotions can trigger their powers. So if they go through like something especially traumatic, they might create like a dragon mount like Lutheran did.
Oh, okay.
So it's really along those lines that every person who has this ability is potentially extremely dangerous.
Okay. That's
Um,
a that's a helpful analogy.
yeah, so it's not your typical fantasy because you don't have a bunch of people with swords, shields, and stuff like that. Um, there are people that use like crossbows and stuff, but it's more they have to rely on these things because the planet continually undergoes these catastrophes
Okay.
that causes like basically the ends of civilizations because of these specific people that can't control their power.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's an interesting book. I recommend checking it out. It's N.K. Jemisin. I think all three of the books in her trilogy have won Hugo Awards.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's why I kind of recommend Orson Scott Card because his two books won Hugo Awards, and I found them quite compelling.
Did all three of them in the Enders series win?
Xenocide was nominated, but it did not win.
Oh, okay.
Xenocide is still pretty good from what I've been reading so far.
Okay.
I don't know, man. The Legendarium just has me reading all these damn sci-fi fantasy books. Like just the way they talk about the stuff makes me very interested in reading it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's almost like I'm in a book club without being in a book club.
Yeah, I bet that's a large I bet that's a large appeal of their podcast.
Yeah, because you get to hear them talk about something you just read. And like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that all the time with those Wheel of Time episodes, both there and on Wheel of Time spoilers.
Yeah, and I've been listening to more of the Mistborn spoilers podcast, but of course you cannot listen to those. I almost feel bad listening to them because there are certain like they only cover the Mistborn trilogy. However, Brandon Sanderson has an entire universe dedicated to this magic system and these deities that rule the universe. So a lot of the other books outside of Mistborn are also they also pull from those books. So sometimes I hear them talking about them. I was like, oh man, I hope they don't spoil it too much for me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to really get caught up on the Brandon Sanderson stuff.
Right.
All right, man. I'm not sure what we're gonna cover next week. I will have to think about it a bit. I know for sure in a month from now we will be covering American Gods, and the week after that we will be covering The Great Hunt or Wheel of Time. But I will keep you guys updated about what we're gonna cover next week. I'm sure it's gonna be something interesting to talk about as always. But Andrew, did you
Yep.
have any plugs?
Yeah. If people want to, they can check out my YouTube channel where I do kind of podcasts or chats like this with Dusty and Drew and lots of other people from Mixed Mental Arts and other interesting people as well. Like I did, I've had Daniele Bolelli on there a few times. And there's also, if people want to, they can check out my blog, which is at mindgasms.theblogpress.com. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention my YouTube channel is Mindgasms. And then I'm also on the social medias, the Facebook, Ibuha, and the Twitter at Andrew Meintzer. My last name is spelled Meintzer. It's a weird German spelling. And oh yeah, and then there's also my Patreon page at Mindgasms if people want to give me money. That would be awesome. And yeah, that's it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for being here as always. Anyone that's watching, please like and subscribe. I also thank all the Patreon patrons who have decided to let us know that they love our content, and thank you for your donations. And please join us next week while we discuss something that'll most likely be interesting. I just don't know what it is right now. Sorry, I'm super unprepared. I think I will need to plan out the next talks for a month. That way I don't have to spring topics on people last minute. But yeah, thank you everybody and have a good night.
Adios until next time, everyone.
Bye bye.